At a gathering with friends, my fiancé and the fake young master of my family were practically swallowing each other's faces in a passionate French kiss right in front of my salad. I was so furious I smashed a wine bottle on the spot, but they just laughed it off, claiming it was just a game and telling me not to be such a buzzkill. Looking at the chaotic scene before me, I let out a soft chuckle. If it's just a game, let's keep playing. We're starting a new round. This time I conveniently lost. I boldly chose the ultimate truth or dare challenge. They dared me to kiss a random girl in the room. Chloe Willow sat comfortably on the sofa looking incredibly smug, probably assuming I would crawl back and pick her. Oh boy, was she about to be disappointed. Without a second glance, I walked straight toward Damien's absolute dream girl, his unattainable white moonlight, Serena Sterling. This move left Chloe and her squad of mean girls staring with their jaws on the floor. Alex, what are you doing? Isn't Chloe right there? Damien put on his best kicked puppy face, looking at me with fake tears. Brother, we were genuinely just playing a game earlier. Why won't you believe me? I let out a cold laugh. With the way you two were practically performing tonsil hockey, if there were a bed here, you'd be rolling on it by now, right? And you're telling me it's a game? Do I look like a clown to you? Or do you just think I'm that stupid? As I walked toward Serena, my eyes flicked over Damien's handsome face. It was already contorting with rage, his fists clenched so tight his knuckles were white. I was cackling internally. Wow, boss lady Serena's aura is no joke. I hadn't even gotten close, and I already felt like her gaze could slice me into sashimi at any second. Despite panicking internally, on the outside, I played it cool, like a guy who absolutely wasn't fearing for his life. Serena Sterling, the undisputed queen of the business world, looked at me with deep amusement, clearly curious about my next move. I stubbornly marched right up to her. Do you remember me? Serena nodded. I remember running into you in the mountains. She smiled, a look full of hidden meaning. Not wandering around looking homeless today? That sentence almost made my knees buckle. Does the queen always have to roast people so sharply? Last time you said if I ever needed a favor, I could come to you. Does that offer still stand? I asked, putting on my most charming smile. Serena's friends exchanged bewildered glances, clearly sensing some juicy, mysterious tensions between us. Chloe and her posse were dumbfounded. They definitely hadn't expected a country bumpkin like me to be acquainted with the head of the Sterling family. Seeing me casually chatting up his goddess, Damien's face turned a spectacular shade of green. I could guess exactly what he was thinking. How does a hillbilly fresh out of the mountains have the right to breathe the same air as Serena Sterling? Serena set her wine glass down and beckoned me over. I stepped closer. Looking at this flawless face up close, I couldn't help but fanboy in my mind. Damn, her eyelashes are so long. What kind of skincare routine gives you skin this good? What do you need my help with? Serena asked, tilting her head. I hesitated, wondering if I should just straight up say I need to kiss you. But what if she judo flipped me out the window? Under the watchful eyes of the entire room, I gritted my teeth, leaned down and planted a quick kiss right on her lips. Oh my God! Serena's friends gasped in collective shock, rubbing their eyes. The untouchable Serena Sterling just got force-kissed! Was this kid about to be torn into 8 pieces? Having secured the kiss, I spun around, ready to sprint for my life. But unexpectedly, she grabbed my collar and pulled me down onto the sofa next to her. Serena looked at my face, which currently looked like it wanted to merge with the floorboards. You kiss me and now you want to run? She asked, narrowing her eyes. I gave an awkward, stiff laugh. I lost a game. I had to. Seeing that she was visibly unimpressed with this excuse, I scrambled to explain. I don't even like that terrible girl anyway. Whoever wants her can take her. How could she ever compare to a queen like you? Serena chuckled. So you like me? Looking at her stunning face. I nodded furiously like a woodpecker. Who wouldn't like a gorgeous villainous best boss? Rumor has it her figure is an absolute hourglass masterpiece. I wonder if it's true. Serena's smile turned dangerous. It turned out she had just confirmed that she could hear my inner thoughts. She reached out and flicked my forehead hard. You little wolf cub. Kissing me was one thing, but now you're lusting after my body? I looked at her, entirely unrepentant. I am purely admiring you from an academic standpoint. It's not lust. As a result, my academic admiration comment made her spit out a mouthful of her drink. She quickly waved her hand. You two, carry on. Chloe, her face dark as a storm cloud, stomped over and glared at me. Alexander Wood, what do you think you're doing? Get over here right now. Suddenly feeling the courage of a lion, I wrapped my arm around Serena's neck and blinked innocently. Miss Willow, it's just a game. Why are you so mad? I haven't even performed a French kiss with her in front of you yet. Instantly, Damien's eyes went red. Alex, you're taking this too far. Chloe and I were just playing a game. She's your fiancé. There is absolutely nothing going on between us. I rolled my eyes so hard I saw my own brain, my voice dripping with sarcasm. Oh, so you do know Chloe is my fiancé? Then when you were playing tonsil tennis with her for a solid minute right in front of me, why didn't you think of that? Are you upset because I kissed your precious white moonlight? Do you want me to kiss her again just so you can die of a heart attack, you shameless two-faced drama king? Saying that, I audaciously turned and nipped Serena's lower lip. Serena supported my waist, looking down at me with a smirk. Alexander, has anyone ever told you that you have the audacity of a god? Without a second thought, I gently bit her lip again. Seeing her narrow her eyes and call me audacious, I thought to myself, who said the queen was a ruthless tyrant? She's clearly very gentle and easy to talk to. Seeing me kiss Serena again, Damien was so furious his eyes were bloodshot. He pointed a trembling finger at me. Alex, you shouldn't just grab a random woman to take revenge. What you're doing is wrong. Chloe's face was completely black. Alexander Wood. I'll say it one last time. Get over. Here. Sitting comfortably beside Serena, I played with her fingers and sneered. Who do you think you are? Don't forget I am your fiancé. Chloe gritted her teeth. I burst out laughing, stood up, walked right up to her and slapped her hard across the face. Smack! Damien screamed, grabbing Chloe's arm, frantically asking if she was hurt. Watching this touching melodrama, I couldn't help but slow clap for the soulmates. Chloe froze, then awkwardly pushed Damien away. But Damien looked at me with righteous indignation. Alex, why would you hit Chloe? Apologize to her right now and we'll pretend this never happened. Ha, the absolute sheer nerve, I mocked. Apologize and you'll let it slide? Without another word, I delivered a second, echoing slap to Chloe's other cheek. How's that for an apology? Did you like it? Chloe's friends finally snapped out of their shock, rushing to stand between us, questioning why I got physical. I looked at them coldly and began listing every single one of Chloe's greatest hits from the past few months. 3 months ago, while we were mountain climbing, she got a single phone call from Damien and abandoned me halfway up the peak. 1 month ago, during a torrential downpour, she dumped me on the side of the road because Damien had the sniffles, causing me to have a high fever for a week and almost giving me pneumonia. Every birthday, every Valentine's Day, the moment we get a second alone, Damien's phone call arrives precisely on time to drag her away. Serena frowned, her voice icy. No wonder you looked so pathetic when I found you in the rain that day, wearing a thin soaked shirt, covered in mud, barefoot and bleeding from the sharp rocks. One of Serena's friends chimed in. This kid looks like a polite scholar, but who knew he was actually a fire-breathing dragon? I turned and slapped Damien across the face for good measure. Don't you just love stealing other people's girlfriends? Congratulations, you can keep this trash. I'm donating her to you. Damien clutched his cheek, forcing tears into his eyes, still trying to argue that it was a misunderstanding. A misunderstanding? You faking an illness to call her away on my birthday is a misunderstanding? You pretending to be stalked on Valentine's Day is a misunderstanding? You sending me selfies of you two together just to provoke me? Do you think my IQ is in the single digits? Chloe glared at me, grinding her teeth. Alexander, you've gone completely crazy. What exactly do you want? I gave her a freezing side eye. As of today, our engagement is over. Tomorrow, I'll have my parents come to your house to officially call it off. It's time your parents found out what you've been doing behind the scenes. Chloe trembled with rage. This is an agreement between our two families. You dare cancel the engagement? I'd like to see what woman would ever dare marry you after this. My gaze landed on Serena. I walked straight up to her. Boss, I'm breaking off my engagement. Want to marry me? Asking it straight out made me a little flushed, but the queen didn't react immediately. Serena raised an eyebrow, looking me up and down. Marry you? What's in it for me? I tilted my head and gave her my brightest, most dazzling smile. You get a sweet, obedient husband who knows exactly how to warm your bed. You're definitely not losing out. She reached out and pinched my cheek. You make a fair point. But it feels like I'm taking a slight loss here. After all, I'd have to feed a lazy couch potato whose cooking skills are questionable and who doesn't like to work. Hey, you're amazing at making money. Shouldn't you have someone to help you spend it? Besides, who wants to work when they can be a couch potato? I immediately hugged her thigh dramatically. Oh right, the Wood family genetically has twins. Who knows, maybe you'll give birth to 2 identical, adorable little babies. The hand pinching my cheek paused. We haven't even gone on a date and he's already planning the maternity ward. This kid's thought process is on a bullet train. But the thought of 2 identical babies was actually something to look forward to. She checked her watch. Tomorrow morning at 9 a.m., if I don't see you at City Hall, be prepared to be thrown into the ocean to feed the sharks. So you agree? I blinked at her with wide, puppy dog eyes. Do I need to repeat myself? Nope, absolutely not. I shook my head frantically. Serena stood up, grabbing my hand to take me home. But Damien blocked our path, biting his lip and looking up at her pitifully. President Sterling, my brother already has a fiancée. What he said just now was only a joke out of anger. I apologize on his behalf. Seeing Damien's act, I couldn't help but roll my eyes. Is he seriously panicking right now? Serena draped her coat over my shoulders and said coldly, You're blocking the way. Hearing this, I couldn't suppress a laugh, especially seeing Damien's incredibly wronged expression. Oh dear, looks like someone's delusion is acting up again. Damien glared at me with pure hatred, his fists tightly clenched. I looked at him with mock confusion. Don't you like Chloe? You guys were French kissing in front of a whole audience. Now that I've generously yielded her to you, why aren't you happy? To help you out, I even found myself a brand new fiancé. Damien's face flushed a deep, ugly red. His obsessive gaze lingered on Serena. With Serena Sterling standing right there, who would give a damn about a fool like Chloe Willow? He wouldn't want 100 clothes. He bit his tongue to maintain his composure. If you do this, do you think Mom and Dad will agree? He asked, looking at me with disdain. Of course they will. After all, I'm their biological son. You should know perfectly well how much they love me. That sentence instantly made Damien's eyes bloodshot. Ever since I returned to the Wood family, they hadn't looked at him the same way. Before, the best of everything belonged to him. Now, he only got the leftovers I didn't want. Even the luxury shower gel only reached his hands after I was done picking. Now, whenever the parents brought gifts home, they only thought of me. When he tried to take something, Mother Wood would stop him, saying it was prepared to compensate me for all the years I'd lost. He had always been the pampered young master of the Wood family, but now, with our identities swapped, the family's blatant favoritism made him want to drop dead out of pure spite. I linked my arm with Serena's and pulled her toward the door. "Let's go, boss." Damien's face was dark. He sneaked a glare at Chloe, thinking to himself, why should I have to pick up the trash woman that Alexander threw away? Standing by the car, I instinctively reached to open the back door. "Do I look like your chauffeur?" Serena asked, intentionally lowering her voice. I quietly closed the back door, scurried to the passenger seat and buckled up, internal screaming, "The villainous boss is so scary. Am I going to lose my life before the honeymoon?" Serena shook her head, amused. "So cowardly, yet you dared to kiss me. Relax, I have no intention of becoming a widow on my wedding day." I tilted my head, looking at her in confusion. "What does that mean?" Serena gave a soft laugh. "Just reminding you. Tomorrow at 9 a.m., City Hall. Need me to repeat it again?" I shook my head vigorously. "No need, no need." Serena handed me her phone. With tears in my eyes, I typed in my contact info and added myself on her social media. At the same time, Damien had chased us out. Seeing me already sitting in Serena's car and driving away, Chloe came out a step too late. Seeing Damien's furious expression, she asked, confused, "Damien, what's wrong?" Damien put on a miserable face. "Chloe, I need to go home first. What if my brother badmouths us to my parents?" Chloe hugged him, her face full of anger. "Even though we were slightly in the wrong this time, it's fine if he's a little mad. But don't worry, I won't let him bully you." Damien's eyes grew redder, acting fully victimized. "It was just a game. I don't know why Alex is making such a big deal out of it." Internally, Damien was smug, but outwardly he played the heartbroken saint. "You're his fiancé, but he's just a country bumpkin. He doesn't deserve you at all." Chloe's eyes filled with contempt, acting as if my arranged marriage to the Willow family was some grand act of charity. She hugged Damien tightly to comfort him. "Don't worry, the person I like is you. Alexander is just an idiot. My engagement to him is strictly business." Damien lowered his head, a flash of triumph in his eyes. "Alexander Wood, so what if you're the real heir? Chloe still looks down on you like dirt." "Don't speak about my brother like that," Damien said, pretending to be kind. But in reality, he was just smearing my name further in front of her. "Fine, let's not talk about him," Chloe sighed. "I'll drive you home first, lest Alexander tries to bully you behind our backs." Serena dropped me off at the entrance of the Wood family mansion. Before getting out of the car, I suddenly leaned over and pecked her on the cheek. Like a bold rabbit, I bolted out of the car, not forgetting to turn back and shout, "See you tomorrow, boss." Watching me flee in panic, Serena touched the cheek I had kissed and burst out laughing. What a coward! Just as she was about to drive away, she saw a car approaching. In a blink, it stopped in front of the Wood mansion. Chloe and Damien stepped out. Damien's eyes lit up, and he was about to step forward to greet Serena, but she simply stepped on the gas and drove off, leaving him eating her taillight dust. Damien bit his lip, overflowing with resentment. He genuinely didn't understand what he lacked compared to me. Why was I allowed to get close to Serena, while he was treated like a walking plague? Chloe walked up to him and asked with concern, "Do you want me to come inside with you?" Damien quickly shook his head. Until he successfully conquered Serena, he couldn't afford to lose his backup tire. As soon as I walked into the house, I was talking to my sister Victoria. Suddenly, I heard a voice filled with venomous hatred from behind. "Alexander, you bastard! Why didn't you just die out there in the mountains? Everything here was supposed to be mine." I turned around, locking eyes with Damien, who was standing at the door. He quickly lowered his head, but it was too late. That split-second look in his eyes screamed that he wanted me dead. "Home early? Afraid I'd tattle to Mom and Dad?" I taunted. At that moment, Victoria and my mother were just about to step forward to greet Damien. Suddenly, their expressions changed completely. They stared at me in absolute disbelief. Mother Wood realized I hadn't opened my mouth. Could that have been his inner thoughts? While the three members of the Wood family were reeling in shock, they heard news from my inner voice that completely shattered their reality. Turns out, Damien didn't just secretly find his biological parents a long time ago, but in the future, he colluded with Chloe to ruin the Wood family. He even hired a truck driver to run over my sister Victoria and disguised it as a drunk driving accident. Thinking about how kind Victoria is, only to be plotted against by this snake. My heart literally hurts. At this moment, Victoria's hands were shaking uncontrollably. She forced herself to stay calm. Mother Wood gripped her husband's hand so tightly that Richard Wood frowned. Seeing his wife's panicked expression, Richard gently patted her hand to comfort her, thinking, "These things haven't happened yet. We still have a chance to change our fate." Damien, completely oblivious to the sudden drastic shift in the room's atmosphere, was still planning his act. "I'll just pretend to be pitiful. These idiots will definitely soften their hearts." He immediately dropped to his knees, getting ready to launch his Oscar-winning performance. But I beat him to the punch. "Mom, Dad, I want to cancel my engagement." These words made Richard Wood freeze. He couldn't help but look up at me, his face full of shock. "What, Alex, don't you love Chloe?" I threw a glance at Damien. His face stiffened for a microsecond before his entire body became unnaturally tense. Cold sweat dripped down his back due to his guilty conscience. Yes, I said faintly, my voice carrying a suppressed edge. But she was French kissing another man right in front of my face today. And she had the nerve to say it was just a game. She's treating me like an absolute fool. At this point my voice choked up, and tears I had ready on standby started rolling down my cheeks. This sight shattered my mother's heart. My dad urgently asked, "Alex, what exactly happened? Tell us clearly." "No, that's not true, it really isn't." Seeing the Wood family glaring at him with pure fury, Damien panicked and started stuttering his defense. We were just playing a game. I swear it wasn't on purpose." But Richard Wood wasn't having any of his nonsense. Even if he couldn't hear my inner voice, he wasn't stupid. He exploded in anger. "So the person kissing Chloe was you?" Seeing the disgust on everyone's faces growing sharper, Damien frantically shook his head to salvage the situation. But I cut him off with a chilling tone. "Not on purpose, huh?" I sneered, casually waving my phone in the air. "I just so happened to have a little surveillance video of the event. You wouldn't mind if I cast it to the TV, would you?" "What video? What nonsense are you spouting?" Damien stared at me like he was looking at a ghost. All color drained from his face. His voice cracked into a sob as he begged Richard, "Dad, I beg you, believe me. I was really just joking around with Chloe." But this time Richard Wood was utterly disappointed in him. He said coldly, "Don't look at me. If there's a video, play it. Let's get everything out in the open today." Wearing a highly provocative smile, I cast the video to the giant living room TV, and then the living room plunged into a deathly silence. In the video, Damien was actively, enthusiastically participating. The triumph in his eyes practically leaked through the screen. He was wrapped around Chloe, smiling at her tenderly right in front of me. Finally, the two of them embraced and kissed passionately, completely ignoring my existence. To make matters worse, the video also featured their squad of friends loudly insulting me, calling me dramatic, mocking my pettiness, and advising me to be more open-minded. It was a masterclass in shamelessness. The moment the video ended, Richard Wood delivered a thunderous slap across Damien's face. Damien was knocked straight to the floor. He was speechless for a moment, clutching his face and staring at Richard in shock. "Dad, you hit me? You still have the nerve to call me Dad?" Richard's voice trembled. He pointed furiously at the boy on the floor. "Did you not know Chloe is Alex's fiancée? You dare seduce her right in front of him, putting on a show to humiliate my son in public? What do you take this family for?" "No, Dad, it's not." Damien tried to explain, but he didn't even know where to begin. Mother Wood was even less polite. She yelled directly, "You are disgusting. Are there no other women in the world? You had to go and steal your brother's fiancée?" I watched the whole scene unfold without saying a word. Just then, a notification popped up on my phone. I clicked it. It was a new file sent by Serena. Another video. This video clearly showed Damien bringing Chloe to meet his biological parents. There were also multiple time-stamped photos of them frequently entering and exiting hotel rooms together. "Mom, Dad, Serena just sent me another video. I think you'll want to see this one too." Saying that, I hit play. Sure enough, Damien, who was just about to argue back, saw the irrefutable evidence on the screen. His lips trembled, his face turned paper white, and he couldn't form a single word. I delivered the final blow. "If you think any of this is deep-faked, feel free to take it to a forensics lab. If I faked it, I'll kneel down and apologize to you." One sentence blocked every single one of his escape routes. Richard Wood's chest was heaving with rage. "Damien, since you've already found your biological parents, you are no longer a member of the Wood family. When we found our real son, I never once considered abandoning you. After all, we raised you for 20 years. And how do you repay us? By intentionally stealing my son's fiancée and publicly humiliating him." "Mom, Dad, please don't kick me out." Hearing Richard tell him to leave, Damien completely panicked. He knew perfectly well that the Fang family, his biological family, couldn't hold a candle to the Wood family's wealth. Moreover, the Fang family only cared about profits. If he really went back to them, he knew exactly what his fate would be. He'd just be a pawn for them to exploit and sacrifice for business deals. He would get absolutely nothing. At this moment, Richard's voice was cold and resolute. "I am not your father. Get out. Take your clothes. And don't even dream of taking a single penny of anything else." Damien's eyes brimmed with grievance. Looking at the Wood family's ruthless expressions, his tears fell. He bit his lip and sobbed, "I'm your son too. Why are you treating me like this?" His voice was full of anger, but Richard didn't soften in the slightest. He sneered. "Just the fact that you stole your brother's fiancée, and the fact that you spend every waking moment plotting against him, isn't that enough?" Richard continued. "Actually, at first we didn't plan on kicking you out, but you just couldn't appreciate what you had. The video evidence is crystal clear, and you still have the audacity to ask why." Hearing this, Damien's face flushed bright red with rage. He shrieked at the top of his lungs. The video! You guys wanted to kick me out a long time ago, didn't you? Now you're just using this as an excuse to act like I've committed some unforgivable sin." His unhinged behavior only annoyed Richard further. He pointed straight at the door. "If you don't want to pack your bags, fine. Get out right now! Stop polluting my eyesight!" Damien's face went white. He realized that the designer clothes, luxury bags, and high-end watches he owned in this house were worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. How could he just leave them behind? He instantly dropped his aggressive attitude, forcing himself to look weak and pitiful. Dad, you raised me for over 20 years? How could you really just throw me away? Richard looked at him, trembling with anger. If you had remembered even a fraction of the gratitude for how we raised you, you wouldn't have bullied your brother time and time again, making me this disappointed in you. As soon as Richard finished speaking, I couldn't help but laugh sarcastically. Damien, even now you have the nerve to blame me? Think about it. What did I steal from you? You stole my entire life. My parents are my biological parents. I am the true son of the Wood family. Was it me who led your fiancée to meet your parents? Or paraded her around your friends, and you still dare to call yourself innocent? My words hit like a boulder in a lake, unleashing a tidal wave of fury in the Wood family's hearts. Richard frowned, his voice dripping with interrogation. Damien, 3 years ago, when you asked the Fang family for a business partnership on our behalf, had you already recognized them as your real family then? He paused, his eyes darkening as he realized something deeper. No, not just 3 years ago. If it was only 3 years ago, you couldn't have pulled off all these stunts for them. It must have been way earlier. Hearing this, everyone's blood ran cold. Richard laughed self-deprecatingly, his voice razor-sharp. My whole family has been playing the fool, sleeping peacefully while raising a traitor. Damien, you've really opened my eyes today. Damien's legs gave out, and he collapsed to his knees in front of Richard, grabbing his pant leg and crying for mercy. I really know I was wrong. Please give me one more chance, Dad. But Richard violently yanked his leg away, cutting him off. From this moment on, you are no longer my son. Whatever belongs to the Wood family, don't even think about taking a single dime. Richard left absolutely no room for negotiation. Panic consumed Damien. Being kicked out was one thing, but leaving with absolutely nothing? No designer clothes, no luxury bags? Going back to the Fang family completely broke? How could he accept this? He trembled and sobbed. Dad, I'm begging you, just one more chance. But looking at the cold, unyielding eyes of the Wood family, he found zero hope. A freezing despair washed over him. Butler, escort young Master Fang out, Richard ordered decisively, drawing a permanent line in the sand. As Damien was being dragged away, he whipped his head around and glared at me fiercely. The venom in his eyes was palpable. Alexander Wood, the Wood family will be mine sooner or later. Don't you get too arrogant? His inner voice dripped with malice and hatred, but I just offered him a faint, mocking smile. Young Master Fang, since you're no longer part of the Wood family, please refrain from using our family's name to do your dirty work from now on. Having his petty scheme exposed by me, Damien was so enraged he lost his mind. He turned back and screamed, "Who the hell cares about your name?" Victoria said coldly. "You'd better walk your talk." Damien felt a sharp pain in his chest, blood rushing to his head. Unable to control his fury, he glared at Victoria, his eyes vicious, as if he wanted to tear her apart. "Victoria Wood, you bitch! I've been so nice to you, and you dare treat me like this! If you refuse to be my premium simp, then you can go to hell!" Damien's inner voice suddenly exploded in my head. I was stunned. If I hadn't been able to hear his thoughts, I never would have guessed he harbored such sick fantasies about our sister. He actually wanted Sister Victoria to be his lapdog, at his beck and call? I looked at Victoria awkwardly, wondering how to relay this horrifying information to her. Victoria noticed my gaze and immediately got goosebumps. "If you have something to say, just say it. Why are you looking at me like that?" I coughed awkwardly, not speaking, but my mind was racing wildly. "Damien wants you to be his simp. Do you know that? Damien is lusting after your body. Do you know that?" As my mind went into overdrive, the expressions on Victoria and my parents' faces suddenly froze. They stared at me blankly. Did they hear that right? Damien liked Victoria? No, he wanted Victoria to be his submissive lapdog? Victoria's eyes blazed with pure, unadulterated rage. "Damien, you absolute creep." She suppressed her anger, walked over to me and said, "Little brother, if Damien ever bullies you again, you tell me immediately." I gave Victoria a very meaningful look. "Sis, you should be careful yourself. I feel like the way Damien looks at you is a bit creepy." I intentionally dropped the hint. Richard immediately chimed in, coughing to clear his throat. "Your brother is right. We should all be careful around that kind of person." After everything that had happened, Richard saw right through Damien. The boy was a completely ungrateful parasite. No matter how well the Wood family treated him in the past, the second he didn't get his way, he would turn his back, despise them, and plot their ruin. Chloe was still waiting at the gates of the Wood mansion. Seeing Damien run out, looking completely lost and devastated, she immediately stepped forward and hugged him. "Damien, what happened? Why are you crying like this?" Damien buried his face in her chest, sobbing uncontrollably and refusing to speak. Chloe kept pressing him. "Damien, what exactly happened? Don't just cry. Tell me." "Chloe," Damien choked out. "What did I do wrong? Mom and Dad want to kick me out of the house." Hearing this, Chloe's anger exploded. Her face instantly darkened. She turned around, marched up to the front door and began pounding on it violently. "Alexander, get your ass out here right now." Hearing her screeching, I also vaguely caught the smug, calculating thoughts in Damien's head. I'll just let Chloe's thick skin handle this mess." I let out a cold laugh, turned around, and walked straight into the kitchen. I casually grabbed a large basin of freezing cold water, fully prepared to welcome Chloe Willow. Seeing my calm demeanor, Victoria and Richard simultaneously burst out laughing, and without coordinating, followed me to the door. Chloe was still hammering on the door. The moment it opened, she opened her mouth to unleash her fury. But before she could utter a single word, I threw the entire basin of ice-cold water directly over her head. The woman who was just acting high and mighty was instantly transformed into a drowned rat. Damien, who had been secretly gloating by the gate, saw this and his expression morphed into absolute shock. He screamed, "Alex, what the hell are you doing?" "I didn't even bother looking at him," I said flatly. "Wasn't Chloe running a fever? I'm just helping her cool off." Hearing this, Chloe lost her mind. She raised her hand ready to strike me. "Alexander Wood, you bastard! Get on your knees and apologize to me right now." At this moment, Damien's eyes lit up even brighter than hers, as if he was praying Chloe's slap would land squarely on my face. Unfortunately for him, he was thinking too much. I easily caught Chloe's wrist and delivered a brutal backhand slap to her face. I slapped her so hard, her head spun for a solid few seconds. She stared at me blankly, as if looking at a demon. Has Alexander completely changed? Where did the pathetic simp who used to follow me around begging for crumbs go? I rubbed my slightly stinging palm and smirked. "Your skin is really thick. Slapping you isn't even satisfying." Chloe trembled with rage. But seeing Victoria, my parents, and several burly bodyguards slowly stepping out of the house, she immediately lost her nerve. She didn't dare scream anymore, only cursing me internally. "Alexander, you piece of trash! How dare you humiliate me in front of Damien? Just wait until we're married. I'll show you hell." Looking at her, a cold smile tugged at the corner of my mouth. Is this woman daydreaming? I've never seen anyone this delusional in my life. Chloe, seemingly oblivious to my sarcasm, continued her weird, preachy tone. "Alexander, I know you're just jealous of Damien, but Damien and I are strictly platonic friends. Hurry up and apologize, and we can put this behind us." Her words literally made me want to throw up on the spot. Unable to hold back, I delivered a solid kick right into her stomach. It wasn't a light tap. The kick sent her sprawling backward, curling into a shrimp shape as she clutched her stomach. "How's that for an apology?" I asked coldly. She pointed a shaking finger at me, her face beat red, her vocal cords straining. "Alexander, you cowardly bastard, you dared hit me! If you don't kneel and beg for my forgiveness today, you can forget about ever marrying me." I rolled my eyes, genuinely amused. "Could you please stop starring in your own imaginary soap opera? Go eat some peanuts to sober up. Your brain is beyond saving." These words made Chloe and Damien's faces incredibly ugly. Damien in particular looked at me with deep, calculating suspicion. What's wrong with Alexander? Wasn't he just a lovesick idiot before? Why is he acting so out of character today? He secretly wondered what I had experienced, entirely unaware that I had been listening to his every thought. Chloe still tried to keep up her act, urgently saying to me, "Alexander, just apologize, and I'll forgive you." I sneered and replied with a single word, "Get lost." Since things had reached this point, there was nothing left to say. I looked at Damien, my tone lukewarm. "I've cancelled my engagement with Chloe. Are you satisfied now? From now on, you don't have to sneak around. You can openly take Chloe to meet your biological parents. It's no problem at all. But don't forget, you're no longer part of the Wood family. Stop using our name out in the world." Damien immediately panicked, his eyes brimming with tears. He turned to Richard and the rest, his voice filled with grievance. "Mom, Dad, do you really not care about me anymore?" Richard's face was ice cold, his voice even colder. "Don't call us Mom and Dad. We don't deserve to be your parents." Hearing this, Chloe immediately got defensive. She stepped forward, pulling Damien behind her. "Excuse me? Even if Damien isn't your biological son, you still raised him. How can you treat him like this?" Victoria shot her a mocking glare. "Since you know we raised him, tell me, how did he repay us? By bullying my little brother, stealing his fiancée, humiliating him in public? Is this what a good brother should do?" Chloe choked, stubbornly replying, "That was my issue. I was the one who wanted to play a game with him." "It had nothing to do with Damien," Victoria scoffed. "Crystal clear then. If it was your issue, why are you still clinging to my brother? Furthermore, since when is it your place to dictate the Wood family's internal affairs?" At this, Chloe was utterly speechless, standing frozen in place. Damien, pale as a ghost, quickly pulled on her arm. "Chloe, let's go. Don't cause any more trouble." As he pulled her away, he was secretly grinding his teeth. "Just you wait, Wood family. The day will come when you beg on your knees, and I absolutely will not forgive you." I just offered a faint smile at his retreating back. "You want us to kneel and beg? You really think you're the main character of the universe, huh?" Chloe still tried to drop one last threat. "Alexander, don't regret this." I raised the empty water basin and coldly barked. "Scram!" She looked at her soaking wet clothes, then at the basin in my hand, and finally shut her mouth. She grabbed Damien and scrambled away like a beaten dog. The moment the two of them left, panic immediately set in for me. Only one thought circled in my brain: how do I tell my parents that I'm going to register my marriage tomorrow morning? Before I could come up with a plan, all three members of the Wood family turned in unison, staring a hole through me. They looked at me like they were expecting me to magically bloom into a flower. Their intense gaze gave me goosebumps. I swallowed hard and asked cautiously, "Mom, Dad, why are you looking at me like that?" My sister Victoria ground her teeth together as if she had just chewed on gravel. "You're hiding something from us, aren't you?" I was about to shake my head, but on second thought I'd have to confess sooner or later. Might as well rip the band-aid off. "Let's go inside, and I'll tell you the results." Victoria huffed, turning around and walking straight in. My parents exchanged a glance and silently followed behind me. Once we were all seated in the quiet living room, I quickly broke the silence, my voice as small as a mosquito's. Haha, hypothetically, if I swapped brides, would you guys be okay with that? The moment the words left my mouth, my mother's eyes locked onto me like high beams. If she stared any harder, she'd burn a hole in my skull. If the girl had been right there, my mom probably would have grabbed a broom and chased her down. Who is it? Serena Sterling. The air froze for a solid few seconds. Victoria and Richard looked at me as if they had just seen a poltergeist. Who did you say? They looked at me like I was having a delusional daydream. Serena Sterling, the current head of the Sterling family, I stubbornly elaborated. The big boss. Victoria reached over and literally felt my forehead. Little brother, how much did you drink? I slapped her hand away and rolled my eyes. I'm perfectly normal. Usually you guys are so smart. Why is your reaction speed taking a detour around the globe today? I'm completely sober. Tomorrow at 9 a.m. she's even coming to pick me up. Richard and the rest looked at me like I was an alien specimen, their expressions a complex mix of indescribable emotions. It was as if I had been abducted by extraterrestrials. I was about to explain further when my mother spoke up. Alex, tell me exactly what happened. She spoke gently, holding back my boiling sister and father. She looked remarkably calm. I scratched my nose, my face a picture of pure awkwardness, and began to stutter through the story. So today we lost a game, and I had a momentary lapse in judgment and kissed her twice. I paused, gathering my courage, before continuing. Then I said I wanted to cancel the engagement with Chloe. Chloe made some snarky comment about who would dare marry me if I broke it off. So I casually asked Serena, and she said yes. My voice got smaller and smaller as I watched their expressions grow increasingly theatrical. I felt like I was watching a magic show unfold on their faces. Mom, Dad, you guys don't mind if I switch my bride to the ultimate boss lady, right? I probed, feeling anxious. They had been silent for way too long. What if they were furious? My mother sat there stunned for a moment, then suddenly stood up and walked upstairs. My heart dropped to my stomach. I whispered, Dad, Mom isn't really mad, is she? My dad pursed his lips, about to speak, when my mother came back downstairs holding something. Her expression was highly secretive. My dad looked at the object in her hand. Isn't that the family register? She shoved the family register into my hands, patting my shoulder with profound meaning. Alex, son, marrying someone like Serena Sterling is the ultimate jackpot. Mom fully supports you. I was dumbfounded. What? What is happening? I stiffly turned my head to look at my dad, my eyes screaming, Dad, control your wife. But to my surprise, my dad cowardly shrugged, looking helpless. Son, I really didn't want to see you get married this early. But if the bride is Serena Sterling, I support this with both hands and both feet. After you get the certificate tomorrow, remember to ask her when she's free to come over for dinner. I completely collapsed mentally, holding the family register that suddenly felt like a hot potato. My mom added, you should really thank Damien. If he hadn't stolen Chloe, how could you ever marry into the Sterling family? Mom, please, spare me the gratitude. I rolled my eyes and shot back sarcastically. But thinking about it, if I successfully registered my marriage with the big boss tomorrow, Damien would absolutely die of a rage aneurysm. After all, the queen was the white moonlight in his heart, the woman he wanted to marry most. Victoria, who originally hadn't wanted me to marry Serena, heard my gratitude theory and said seriously, Little brother, I actually think you and President Sterling are a great match. Don't be late tomorrow, and make sure you dress sharp. I gave a dry, awkward laugh, retreated to my room and locked the door. My brain started working in overdrive. Damien's main character plot armor was seriously no joke. Now that Chloe was wrapped around his finger, who knew how many other elite women would throw themselves at him in the future? I needed to think carefully about how to strip him of all his plot armor. Meanwhile, Serena had returned to Villa Number 1. Entering the living room, she saw several of her close friends sitting on the sofa. She casually tossed her coat onto a chair and lazily leaned against it. What are you all doing here? We heard you're going to City Hall with that kid tomorrow. Someone couldn't help but ask, do you actually like him? Serena leaned back lazily and replied, not exactly like, but at least I don't hate him. He's interesting, quite unique. Her friends exchanged glances and finally conceded, not bad, but hasn't the Sterling family always wanted you to enter a political marriage? If you do this, they probably won't accept it, Serena smirked. I hold my own household register. Why should I care what they think? Before long, everyone left, leaving Serena alone. She sat on the sofa, recalling the events of the evening. Thinking of the things I had said, she couldn't help but lower her head, the corners of her mouth twitching into an uncontainable smile. That impulsive kid is truly amusing. Who knows, maybe in the future, we really will have a pair of adorable twins. Realizing where her thoughts were going, she startled. Since when was my mind being led around by him? She shook her head helplessly, grabbed her coat and went upstairs to shower. Later, wrapped in a towel, she stepped out of the bathroom and walked over to the floor-to-ceiling window. Looking at the night view reflected in the glass, a faint smile graced her lips. Entering her bedroom, she sat at the head of the bed, handled some work on her tablet for a while, and finally went to sleep. The next morning at 7 a.m. my mom dragged me out of bed. I yawned, crawled up, washed my face, and checked myself out in the mirror. Yep, The fit is looking immaculate today. I checked the time. It was already past 8 a.m. I quickly grabbed my bag, stuffed the family register inside, and sprinted downstairs. As soon as I hit the ground floor, I saw Serena sitting in the living room, chatting animatedly with my dad. I tilted my head looking at her in confusion. What's going on? Why is she here so early? Recognizing my footsteps, Serena looked up at me. She stared at me for a good while. Honestly, her gaze made me a bit self-conscious. Is my outfit weird? Why is she staring like that? Unable to help myself, I rolled my eyes and glared back at her. Serena just laughed, stood up, and walked over to me, carefully inspecting my suit. Little kid. I ignored her, pouting my lips in disdain but still muttered, I'm 23, okay? Who are you calling a little kid? She kept calling me that and it ticked me off so much I almost wanted to throw hands. But before I could, my dad's booming laugh interrupted from behind. Alex, stop messing around and come eat breakfast. Serena's been waiting for you. Fine, consider yourself lucky today. I shot Serena a side eye, intentionally scowling to try and intimidate her. Who knew she would just look at me like a cute pet, the corners of her mouth clearly showing a teasing smirk. At the dining table, I casually asked, have you eaten breakfast? If you have, take your time. With that, I didn't stand on ceremony, sitting down and focused entirely on demolishing my bowl of congee and steamed buns. She quietly watched me, looking perfectly relaxed and at ease. Occasionally, I felt her gaze sweep across my face. When my cheeks puffed out from chewing, I swore I saw her fingers twitch. Does she want to pinch my cheeks? Having eaten my fill, I put down my chopsticks and looked up at her. Let's go. She nodded, stood up and turned to say goodbye to my dad. Uncle, we'll be heading out now. Once in the car, I looked at her, my voice full of curiosity. Why didn't you tell me you were coming? She replied nonchalantly. I texted you. You're the one who didn't reply. I quickly pulled out my phone to check. Sure enough, there was an unread message from her sitting right there. I scratched my head, trying to remember. Oh, right! I think I was in the shower when she sent it. I gave her an innocent, apologetic smile. The very next second, she slowly spat out 2 words. So stupid. You've got a toxic tongue, you know that? Careful, or you won't be able to find a husband, I retorted, rolling my eyes. She glanced at me and suddenly smiled. She reached over, pulled my seatbelt, and carefully buckled me in. Her voice was lazy but somehow sounded incredibly serious. I only need one husband. Any more would just be a nuisance. That sentence caught me completely off guard. I couldn't think of a single comeback. The anger rising in my chest was forcefully suppressed, leaving me to pout in frustrated silence, rolling my eyes at the window. On the way, I babbled on about random things. Serena didn't say much, but whenever I threw a topic her way, her responses were always sharp, perfectly on point, polite, yet retaining her commanding aura. She truly lived up to the title of boss lady. Compared to the flashy, superficial Chloe Willow, Serena was on a completely different, infinitely higher level. She tilted her head to glance at me, her expression as calm as a deep, unreadable lake, showing not a trace of emotion. When we got close to City Hall, I was still in high spirits. But the moment we walked through the doors and I saw Damien standing there, my mood instantly plummeted into an abyss. This guy really is like a lingering ghost. I cursed internally, furrowing my brows as I glared at him. Serena followed my gaze and saw Damien standing there looking pitiful, like a fragile white lotus flower, the absolute pinnacle of delicate vulnerability. As she parked the car, Serena said flatly, "Let's go." She stepped out and, completely naturally, reached out to hold my hand, leading me into the lobby. In that exact moment, a warm flutter bloomed in my chest. I ducked my head, secretly smiling like a softie. The moment President Sterling walked into the lobby, Damien called out to stop her. I couldn't help but roll my eyes. This guy really knows how to cause a scene. Predictably, he put on his pitiful act and blocked our path. "President Sterling, I have something I need to say to you." Serena simply kept her hands in her pockets, sweeping a freezing glance over him. Her eyes practically screamed 3 massive words. "Get the hell away." Her low, icy voice dropped a sentence that made me burst out laughing. I immediately clung to Serena's arm, intentionally leaning into her, and looked at Damien with a teasing voice. "Aren't you here to register your marriage with Chloe? Where is she? Why isn't she with you?" Damien's face instantly turned a sickening shade of green. The fire of fury ignited in his chest, his lips pressed tightly together, and his hateful gaze stabbed into my face. The anger and sheer unwillingness on his face were crystal clear to me. Alexander doesn't deserve Serena. She obviously belongs to me. His eyes seemed to be screaming it, but those petty, pathetic calculations only looked extremely laughable to me. I squeezed Serena's hand tighter, deliberately whining. "I'm so sleepy. From now on, you're not allowed to wake me up this early." Serena looked down, smiling as she ruffled my hair. Her voice carried a hint of unmistakable pampering. "All right, after we get the certificate, we'll go home and you can catch up on your sleep." "Hey, don't mess up my hair. You're ruining my styling." Seeing my ruffled, agitated state, she couldn't help but laugh. "You look like an angry poodle." As she spoke, she reached out and fixed my hair, her voice still nonchalant. "All right, enough playing around. Let's go in. It's going to get crowded." From beginning to end, she didn't spare Damien a single glance. I proudly turned my head, shooting Damien a look full of mocking laughter, and waved at him. "You just take your time waiting for Chloe. We're heading in first." That tone made his face cycle rapidly between green and white. He looked like he wanted to say something, his lips parting slightly. But Serena had already pulled me straight toward another entrance. Throughout the entire encounter, she avoided Damien like the plague. When we walked out of the lobby holding our bright red marriage booklets, Damien's face was so dark it looked like it was about to drip ink. For a split second, I honestly thought he was going to lunge forward, snatch my marriage certificate, and rip it to shreds. "Do you need to go back and pack anything?" Serena asked, breaking my train of thought. I stared at her, utterly bewildered. "Are you kidding me? I'm moving in with you and you can't even buy me some new clothes? You want me to go back and pack my old stuff?" Her image as the generous sugar mommy boss lady collapsed instantly. She paused, then pinched the bridge of her nose, her voice laced with exasperation. "I meant things like your computer. Do you need to bring that?" Hearing this, I finally realized my mistake, but seeing Damien still hovering nearby out of the corner of my eye, I deliberately raised my voice. "Never mind, I don't need any of that old stuff as long as you buy me new ones." Serena seemed to immediately catch on to my petty little scheme. She said smoothly, "Then let's head to the mall right now. Pick whatever you like." My eyes lit up like fireworks. I immediately dragged Serena away, leaving Damien without an ounce of dignity. "Alexander Wood, you bastard! I will not let you get away with this!" Damien's teeth-grinding voice echoed behind us. As I walked past him, I threw him a casual side-eye and gave a provocative smirk. "Not let me get away with this? Yeah, right, just you wait." Serena noticed Damien's hateful glare. She looked down at me, a faint, condescending smile playing on her lips. "He's just a clown jumping around for attention. Why are you even looking at him?" I blinked, internally screaming in admiration. As expected of the ultimate villainess, one sentence and a critical hit. But honestly, the scene was undeniably awe-inspiring. Serena's icy composure proved that no matter how strong the main character plot armor was, it was completely useless in the face of a true boss. She lowered her eyes to look at me, then pretended nothing happened, tightly holding my hand and walking out of City Hall, leaving a trembling Damien in our wake. On the way, I casually asked, "Are you coming over to my house for dinner tonight?" Serena didn't even look up, casually replying, "Yes, and while we're at it, we can tell your parents you're moving in with me." I froze, internally gasping. Wow, the boss lady is truly experienced. She doesn't act like a newlywed at all. She's moving at the pace of an old married couple. But thinking about it, I felt a surge of excitement. Living with her didn't sound bad at all. Plus, Damien would absolutely lose his mind. If he secretly sent people to spy on me and found out, wouldn't he literally explode with jealousy? Just visualizing that scene made me want to cackle in secret. At the mall, I picked out a mountain of accessories and casual clothes. When I reached for my card to pay, Serena smoothly pulled out a sleek black card and handed it to me. She coolly dropped one word: "Swipe." I looked at the card, double-checked to make sure it was real, and finally took it with a provocative raise of my eyebrows. "Don't blame me. I'm gonna max this baby out." She chuckled softly, nodding in approval. "Ambitious." Somehow her tone made it sound like a genuine compliment. She really lived up to the title of a generous boss lady. After that, we hit up a few furniture stores, buying everything from toothbrushes to slippers, and finally ended up at a designer boutique. Watching the total on the receipts climb higher and higher, I suddenly felt a bit embarrassed. So I picked out a few sets of comfortable loungewear as a gift for her and set them aside. By the end of the day, our loot was piled high. But what surprised me the most was that Serena had followed me around the entire day without uttering a single complaint. Her patience was genuinely staggering. Out of sheer embarrassment, I proactively picked out a few more sets of home clothes and comfortable outfits for her as a thank you. When we returned to the Wood family mansion, my mom had already prepared a lavish feast. After dinner, Serena naturally brought up the subject with my parents. "Mom, Dad, I want Alex to move in with me tonight." Even though my mom had mentally prepared herself for this, hearing the words still made her pause, a flicker of disappointment crossing her eyes. I quickly comforted her. "Mom, we can come back whenever we want. We'll come back for dinner when we're free. I can even stay over for a few days, right?" I secretly nudged Serena, signaling her to back me up. Sure enough, my reliable boss lady immediately nodded. Seeing this, my mom's expression softened considerably. She gave us a few instructions, reminding us to visit often. That night, I only packed a few changes of clothes, quickly threw my things together, and left with Serena. Her car pulled into Villa number 1. The mansion that appeared before me was magnificent but felt incredibly cold and sterile. I followed her inside. Stepping into the room she stayed in, I looked around and couldn't help but complain. "This place looks like a model home. There's zero warmth to it. Especially that massive balcony. It's completely empty. What a waste of space." Serena didn't seem to mind. She leaned against the doorframe, quietly watching me snoop around, poking at this and prodding at that. Finally, she shook her head slightly. As I walked deeper into the room, she suddenly grabbed my wrist, pulled me close, and raised an eyebrow. "Do you hate it that much?" I nodded, being completely honest. I hate it a lot. Serena unexpectedly shoved a black card into my hand, she said generously. "Then decorate it however you want." "Really? I can change it however I like?" My eyes sparkled like they were coated in starlight, staring at her eagerly. "As long as you don't paint the whole thing pitch black, I have no objections." Her words made me cover my mouth and burst into laughter. "Haha, why would I paint it black? Just the thought of that gives me goosebumps." Serena stood a few steps away, hands in her pockets, the corners of her mouth curving into a deeply meaningful smile as she watched me. I startled, suddenly going on high alert and prepared to sneakily make my escape. But before I could take a step, I felt a strong pull on my waist. She abruptly yanked me back. "What are you doing?" I stammered. Looking up at her, I met her deep, mesmerizing eyes. "I heard you talk a big game," she said, leaning down, her low voice laced with teasing. I panicked and shook my head frantically. "No, I don't! Who said that?" Before I could react, the very next second she suddenly pushed me backward onto the bed. The movement was so fast my eyes nearly popped out of my head. "What is happening?" Lying on the bed, my brain felt like mush. I tried to sit up, but she slowly leaned over, pinning me down so I couldn't move an inch. My face flushed bright red. Looking at her flawless face mere inches from mine, I stammered, "Don't do anything crazy." She gave a low chuckle, her voice carrying a playful, dangerous edge. "Scared?" That laugh, combined with her overwhelming proximity, sent a shiver down my spine. I tried to push her away, but she only pressed down harder, my brain short-circuited. Suddenly, I threw my arms around her neck, lifted my head, and kissed her hard. This kiss didn't just stun her, it completely shocked me too. Who would have thought that being teased would trigger an offensive counterattack? But the problem was, this bold kiss didn't even last 2 seconds before I chickened out. I tried to retreat, but she had already reacted. One hand clamped down on the back of my neck. Her movements were domineering and forceful, completely stealing my breath away. When she finally let go, I was panting heavily. I dazedly touched her face and blurted out, "Who started the rumor that my wife didn't like men? I need to sue for defamation." The moment the words left my mouth, I snapped back to reality and desperately waved my hands. "I didn't say anything, nothing at all!" Serena let out a deep, throaty laugh. It was a complex, sexy laugh that gave me full-body goosebumps. Then she straightened her slightly ruffled cuffs and casually dropped a bomb before walking out. "I'll deal with you tonight." She left me lying dazed on the bed, panting for air. I absent-mindedly touched my lips where she had kissed me. I couldn't help but think of something, and the corners of my mouth curled up uncontrollably. If Damien knew about this, he'd probably be so mad he wouldn't sleep for days. I rolled over, grabbed my phone and started scrolling. I noticed Damien's contact info was still there. A brilliant, evil idea struck me. I tossed the phone aside, crawled up and started unpacking the mountain of stuff I bought today. Just then, Serena walked in carrying a glass of milk. She said flatly, "Drink your milk." I didn't even look up, just gave a casual hum of acknowledgement. It wasn't until I finished unpacking that I finally noticed the milk and picked it up to drink. Just as I took the last gulp, the bathroom door creaked open. Serena stepped out, wrapped only in a bath towel, droplets of water still clinging to her damp hair. This sight completely fried my brain cells. I stared blankly for a long time before snapping out of it. She noticed my stare, and a wicked smile curved her lips. She deliberately walked right up to me, leaned down and asked, "Am I pretty?" Without thinking, I nodded instinctively. "Pretty." My obedient, dazed expression made her laugh out loud. She reached out and knocked on my head. "You little pervert." I rubbed my head, indignant, and muttered, "You're my wife now. What's wrong with me looking at you?" Serena narrowed her eyes as if hearing a deeper implication. She took a step closer, raising an eyebrow. "If you can look at me, does that mean I get to return the favor?" As she took another step toward me, I instinctively pushed her away and practically yelled, "I'm going to take a shower." Looking exactly like a cat whose tail had been stepped on, I bolted into the bathroom and slammed the door shut, only daring to breathe a sigh of relief once I was safely inside. But when I turned around, I realized I had forgotten my pajamas. The tiny towels in the bathroom wouldn't cover anything. I'm doomed. Finally, with no other choice, I wrapped a towel around my waist and stubbornly marched out. The moment I stepped out of the bathroom, I saw Serena staring at me. Her gaze swept over my body with an indescribable, intense heat. I was about to offer an excuse, but she didn't even give me the chance to open my mouth. She stated bluntly, "Alexander, I don't accept marriages of convenience." That opening line brutally shattered any illusions. Her subsequent words and actions left me with absolutely zero room to argue. In my heart, only one sentence remained. If anyone ever dares say my wife is gay again, I will personally slap them 800 times. Serena, who was clearly listening to my inner monologue, suddenly let out a low, husky laugh. It was a deep, seductive sound carrying an inexplicable, teasing quality. I grumbled in annoyance, "You're too loud." Saying that, I rolled over and collapsed onto the bed, instantly pretending to be asleep, giving her no chance to say anything else. She watched me start to fake snore and shook her head helplessly. She leaned down, gently stroked my cheek and lay down beside me, pulling me softly into her arms. Breathing in the scent of the same shower gel lingering on her skin, I slowly drifted off into a genuine sleep. The next morning, Serena went downstairs. The butler was already waiting in the living room. She instructed casually, "He's still sleeping. Do not disturb him until he wakes up. Also, tell the kitchen to prepare a traditional Chinese breakfast." The butler nodded immediately. "Yes, miss." She left the villa, got into her car, and casually shot me a text. Upon arriving at the company, Serena's demeanor completely changed. She transformed back into the strict, ice-cold CEO who commanded absolute authority. The word intimidating seemed carved into her very being. The company employees, expecting their CEO to be the same as every other day, were in for a shock. They noticed that President Sterling seemed to have acquired some new accessories. As she walked past, several people began whispering frantically, "Hey, did you see that? On the CEO's neck! Oh my God, is that a hickey? Our CEO actually got claimed?" Serena entered her office and received her daily schedule report from her assistant. As usual, her assistant was clearly acting abnormal. Halfway through a sentence, the assistant's eyes kept darting to Serena's neck. Not to mention, the assistant was sneaking glances like she was studying a rare historical artifact. Serena finally lost her patience. She looked up, shooting her assistant a look of pure disdain. "Have you looked enough? If you have something to report, speak clearly." The assistant jumped, immediately lowering her head and dragging the topic back to work, not daring to ask a single question. During the executive meeting, the high-level managers also couldn't help but sneak peeks at her. Serena had zero tolerance for this. She tapped the table, issuing a freezing warning. "I called you all here for a meeting, not to admire me." That sentence plunged the conference room into dead silence. She swept her gaze across the room and continued, "The acquisition plan needs to be accelerated. The budget calculations must be precise. There will be absolutely no delays in any project's progress." With that, she stood up and left the room, picking up her phone to handle other matters. After the meeting, her phone rang. It was me. As soon as she answered, I yelled somewhat indignantly, "Serena Sterling, have you no shame?" She replied calmly, "You were the one who started it. I was so mad I wanted to smash my phone. Look at what I look like right now. Who's going to want to see me looking like this?" She let out a soft laugh. "Are you missing a chunk of meat, Alexander?" "Serena, I am your husband." Her voice was thick with amusement as she spoke calmly. "Why don't you take a look at my battle scars from today first?" Saying that, she snapped a picture of the most obvious bruise on her neck and sent it to me. Looking at the photo, I almost threw my phone across the room. A massive patch of blue and purple. But on second thought, I couldn't help but tease her. "Did you do this on purpose so I'd be too embarrassed to see anyone today?" Without skipping a beat, she replied, "You only have to see the butler today anyway. It's not like you need to meet a crowd." Hearing that, I calmed down, sat cross-legged on the bed, found the perfect angle, and took a selfie. I posted it to my Moments social media feed, with the privacy settings restricted so that only Damien could see it. Damien had just woken up, bearing dark circles from a sleepless night. He picked up his phone to doomscroll. Suddenly he saw my new update on his feed. With a swipe of his finger, he opened it. Seeing the picture, he was so enraged he slammed his phone onto the mattress, grinding his teeth. "Alexander Wood, I will not let you be smug for long." The thought of his untouchable white moonlight being with a guy like me caused him unbearable agony. His hands clenched into tight fists. He couldn't sit still. He had to let Serena know what kind of person I really was. Driven by this thought, Damien grabbed his things and headed straight for the Sterling Group headquarters to find Serena. On the way, he even bought a new phone and saved that specific photo to it. At the reception desk of Sterling Group, he held his head high and demanded, "I want to see President Sterling." "Excuse me, sir, do you have an appointment?" Damien frowned. "No appointment. I'm sorry, without an appointment, you cannot go up." The receptionist maintained a perfectly polite smile. Damien was about to argue when Serena led a group of people out of the elevator. Seeing Serena, Damien's eyes lit up. He sprinted over and blocked her path. "President Sterling, hello, I am Alexander's older brother." Serena glanced at him and said coldly, "My husband only has one older sister. He doesn't have a brother." Serena remembered this guy. This was the so-called main character from My Inner Thoughts, the repulsive man who viewed her as his white moonlight. Damien looked slightly embarrassed, but desperate to expose my true face. He gritted his teeth and pulled out the photo he had saved on his phone. "President Sterling, look! Alexander actually dared to use this kind of method to tarnish your reputation." Serena merely glanced at the photo on the screen. Damien frowned. Seeing her reaction, he felt secretly triumphant. Assuming Serena wasn't a superficial woman who would fall for such tricks, Serena hadn't seen the photo I posted on her own feed. There was only one explanation. I had deliberately posted it so that Damien would see it. I was intentionally trying to provoke him. Thinking of my impulsive, chaotic behavior, Serena actually spaced out for a second in amusement. Damien was waiting for Serena to furiously curse me out. But why was this playing out completely differently from his imagination? The assistant, noticing that Serena clearly had zero favorable feelings toward this man, quickly intervened. "President, if we don't leave now, we'll be late. Let's go." As they reached the door, Serena seemed to remember something. She turned to the receptionist and said, "From now on, if this person shows up, block him at the door." "Understood." The two receptionists exchanged glances and nodded fervently. Damien tried to speak again, but the assistant blocked him. She shot him a warning glare. "Sir, please refrain from harassing our CEO." Left with no other options, Damien could only watch helplessly as Serena drove away. The two receptionists began gossiping. "I actually thought he really knew the boss. Turns out she couldn't care less about him. Our boss already has a husband. Why would she ever get tangled up with a guy like this? What are you talking about?" Damien, overhearing their gossip, was furious. How could someone as high and mighty as Serena Sterling publicly announce at her company that she had a husband? Who's talking nonsense? Everyone in the company knows. Today, the boss came to work with a hickey and bite marks on her neck. The boss and her husband are very much in love. Don't you dare try to ruin their relationship, the receptionist warned him. Hearing this, Damien thought his ears were malfunctioning. He asked in disbelief, "What did you say?" "Serena, someone so arrogant and untouchable, how could she go to work with a hickey and bite marks?" The receptionist couldn't be bothered to entertain him. Damien pulled out his phone and stared at the photo. "Look for yourself." He looked at Serena in the picture. The hickey on her neck was blindingly obvious. Damien didn't even know how he stumbled out of the Sterling Group building. When he had first seen the picture I posted, he genuinely believed it was a fake I had manufactured just to piss him off. But after coming to Sterling Group, he realized he was the only clown in this entire circus. Seeing Damien leave in such a pathetic state, the two receptionists texted Serena's assistant, relaying the whole incident. The assistant was about to report it when she saw Serena pull out her phone and make a call. "Alexander, as your wife, shouldn't I be the one to see private photos like that? It's one thing to show outsiders, but using me as a meat shield? That's not very nice." I was in the middle of eating breakfast and immediately perked up. "Did Damien actually go to your company to find you? How else would I know?" I burst out laughing. "What's wrong with using my own wife for a little advantage?" Serena asked thoughtfully. "You don't regret this, do you?" "Regret what? Why would I regret it?" I found Serena's question incredibly strange. "What's done is done. What's there to regret? Damien is probably dying of anger right now. Remember what you said. I have a business meeting to attend." Hanging up. Previously, I hadn't thought much of it. After hanging up, I opened my contacts. Sure enough, Damien had sent me a barrage of nasty messages. The most frequent phrase was, "How can you be so shameless?" I sneered and leisurely sent Damien a voice message. "You went to my wife's company to look for her. Was it just to see how deeply in love we are?" That audio clip made Damien's eyes bloodshot with rage. "Alexander, what are you so smug about? Sooner or later, she's going to dump you, and you'll be left with nothing. We are legally married. Even if she really dumps me and we get a divorce, I still get half of her massive fortune." I understood exactly what Damien cared about most. Every single word I spoke stabbed him right where it hurt. Damien was so enraged he called me immediately. As soon as the call connected, he unleashed a torrent of curses. "Alexander Wood, how can you be so utterly shameless? She doesn't even like you." Facing an overly agitated Damien, I said brightly, "She is my wife. Alex, do you honestly think Serena likes you? She's just playing with you. At night she shares a bed with me. I even hold her while we sleep," I said slowly. That sentence pushed Damien over the edge. Every vile insult in the dictionary spewed from his mouth. I just set my phone aside, letting him scream helplessly into the void. When the other side finally went quiet, I picked up the phone and said, "Damien, you like my wife, don't you? Too bad she has zero interest in you. Not to mention she's legally bound to me now. Tell me, if Chloe finds out you're constantly thinking about another woman, how is she going to react?" While provoking Damien, I didn't forget to sow discord between him and Chloe. "Alex, why do you always have to fight me for everything? Why didn't you just die out there?" Damien spat with pure venom. I fired back without hesitation. "If a piece of trash like you, who stole my life like a cuckoo bird in another bird's nest, hasn't died yet, why should I?" With that, I hung up and immediately blocked his number. Damien tried to call back after being hung up on, but no one answered. Then the call wouldn't even go through. He realized I had definitely blocked him. He raised his hand to smash his phone, but right before he let go, he remembered this was the brand new phone he just bought today. Suppressing his rage, Damien used another phone to make a call. "Help me investigate Alexander Wood, find out who he's been meeting, and exactly when he met Serena Sterling." Receiving an affirmative answer, Damien hung up, feeling slightly satisfied. Before he could think further, his phone rang again. Seeing the caller ID, Damien felt a wave of disappointment. Why isn't it Serena? If the person who registered their marriage with Serena was him, how wonderful would that be? Even though he was obsessing over Serena, Damien didn't dare give Chloe the cold shoulder. Now that he had been kicked out of the Wood family, he could only rely on Chloe to maintain his standing in elite circles. Before completely capturing Serena, he couldn't throw away this spare tire. At least, not yet. "Damien, where are you? I'm coming to pick you up to meet someone." Chloe's voice sounded somewhat excited. Damien felt slightly annoyed, but he still replied gently, giving Chloe an address. About half an hour later, Chloe appeared before Damien. "Damien, didn't you want to act in movies? I contacted a director, and there's a role available for you in an upcoming film." Hearing this, Damien intimately took Chloe's arm. "Chloe, really?" After expressing his joy, he acted slightly hesitant. "Chloe, is it really okay for you to pull strings with a director for me? Besides, the Wood family went to your house today to cancel the engagement. Is it really okay that you didn't go home?" Chloe scoffed. "I've wanted to cancel that engagement for a long time. Who would ever like a country bumpkin like Alexander?" Internally, Damien was jumping for joy, but outwardly he played the victim. "Chloe, I'm so sorry. If it weren't for me, you wouldn't be dealing with this cancelled engagement and getting yelled at. It's fine. Now that the engagement is off, we can be together forever." Chloe hugged Damien, speaking with deep affection. Hearing this made Damien feel a bit nauseous, but he forced a look of deep emotion. "Chloe, you're so good to me." Damien followed Chloe to meet the director. His appearance and acting skills made the director nod in satisfaction. Alright, the third male lead role in this movie goes to Mr. Wood. Third male lead? Damien wasn't thrilled, but he didn't show it. Instead, he smiled and thanked them. The director just smiled and didn't say much. If it weren't for the sake of the Willow family's heiress, this third male lead role definitely wouldn't have fallen into his lap. Damien took the script and began studying it. He was determined to become famous. As long as he became a massive star, he would have his own backing, and dealing with me would be much easier. When I found out Damien was preparing to join a film crew, I was a bit surprised. Chloe was certainly generous when it came to him. That night, Serena came home and saw me sitting with my laptop. She sat down next to me, glancing at the screen. "What are you doing? Writing a script? Are you into this kind of stuff?" I scooched closer to her. "Take a look." Serena skimmed the script and found it wasn't bad. "Do you want me to invest in it? What's in it for me?" I tilted my head, looking at Serena, and planted a loud kiss on her cheek. "Is this benefit acceptable?" Serena tilted her head to look at me, feeling like she was being bought far too cheaply. The boss lady is not easily fooled. If you don't agree, that's not going to work. Otherwise, I'll have to use my ultimate honey trap tactics. Hearing my inner thoughts, Serena began to look forward to it. She looked at me, eager to see exactly what I would do to convince her to invest. I rolled my eyes, pushed the laptop aside, and suddenly threw my arms around her neck. Looking deep into her eyes, I gently shook her arm, intentionally using a whiny, spoiled tone. "Wifey, please, I'm begging you." My pathetic, adorable act actually made Serena's heart soften a bit. But suddenly she said, "I believe I still have an unsettled score with you." Hearing this, I immediately remembered the stunt I pulled to annoy her earlier. She leaned down and dropped a light kiss on my cheek. "Call me wifey again. Let me hear it." I stared at her in shock. This person is a cold, ruthless CEO, not some harmless little shrimp. I quickly changed the subject. "I'm hungry. Today?" I didn't dare poke the bear anymore. I was genuinely hungry. Serena held back a laugh and pulled me toward our bedroom. Looking at the room that hadn't changed at all, she raised an eyebrow. "Didn't you say you were going to redecorate?" I rolled my eyes at her. With the state of my neck, I wasn't about to step outside just to get laughed at. Serena's eyes drifted to my neck, and she couldn't suppress a smile. She leaned in and gave my neck another light bite. I stared at her with wide eyes. Serena didn't argue. She just asked softly, "Using me to provoke that repulsive man, how should we settle that debt? Who told him to like you? If I don't use you to provoke him, who else am I going to use?" I answered righteously. Serena nodded, surprisingly not arguing. "Then it's not unreasonable for me to collect a little interest, is it?" I was about to say something, but Serena didn't give me the chance. I pinched her, pretending to be wronged. "You're so difficult, helping your own husband, and you still demand compensation? You're so stingy, and you call yourself a CEO." Serena grabbed my hand and kissed my knuckles lightly. "Your wife is a businesswoman, so I provide the funds, and your wife only accepts payment via the honey trap. The day after tomorrow, I'm going on a business trip abroad. Do you want to come with me?" Serena asked, wanting to take me along. "I'm not going." I suddenly remembered she still hadn't explicitly said whether she was investing or not. "You are my husband. What's mine is yours. Use the money however you like." After dinner, Serena led me out into the garden. Sitting in the gazebo, I continued writing my script while Serena read over my shoulder. This script was about a friend of mine from middle school. She had been severely bullied, leading to depression, and eventually jumped off a building to end her life. But the perpetrators, because they were minors, never received any severe punishment. Isn't it ridiculously funny? Thinking of that bright flower-like girl, I felt a wave of sadness. She just jumped, and those people just stood there and watched. Serena comforted me. The law is always improving. Those people will face justice. The next day, Serena and her assistant left for the business trip. Watching them leave, I was absolutely thrilled. Finally, she's gone. I can do whatever I want until she gets back. By the third day of her absence, the hickey on my neck had faded significantly in the mirror. I immediately kicked off my room makeover plan. I drove straight to the mall, picked out a new set of bedding, bought 2 giant beanbag chairs, a small coffee table, and a few potted plants. Returning home, I had the staff wash the new bedding. Suddenly, a man stood up and blocked my path. "Alexander Wood, you're casually redecorating President Sterling's room. Did she even give you permission?" I tilted my head, looking at him. A smirk played on my lips as I rested my chin on my hand, speaking slowly. "It's my wife's room. I can do whatever I want with it. She doesn't have a problem with it, so why are you jumping out to bark?" The word wife made his face stiffen. I called the butler over and asked, "Who is this guy?" The butler looked at the stubborn man standing there and rubbed his temples. "It's the son of Chef Thomas. Since when does a chef's son get to dictate what the master of the house does?" The butler glared at him in displeasure. I leaned back on the sofa, casually asking the butler, "Before my wife left, didn't she say that while she's away, I'm the master of her room? Whatever I want to do goes right?" The butler nodded immediately. "That is correct. Madame explicitly ordered that while she is away, Sir has full authority. She even specifically instructed us to assist you in redecorating the room." I looked at the man with interest. "So I'm curious. My wife said I'm in charge. Does this gentleman here refuse to recognize my status? Or does he refuse to acknowledge my existence altogether? The butler's expression changed instantly. Felix Jong is only staying here temporarily. Strictly speaking, he is not an employee of the Sterling family. What right does he have to speak to Sir like this? Call Chef Thomas here. Chef Thomas rushed out of the kitchen. After hearing what happened, he finally realized that this arrogant, ungrateful son of his had offended me. Felix, you said you didn't have a place to stay for the summer, so I begged Madam to let you stay here temporarily. What the hell are you trying to do? Chef Thomas was absolutely furious. Chef Thomas and Felix's mother had divorced early on. Back then, Felix chose to live with his wealthy stepfather and refused to go with him. Thomas had only taken his youngest son. He never expected that this brief reunion would cause such a massive disaster. Sir, I will have him leave immediately. I looked at the profound disappointment in Chef Thomas's eyes and said softly, Chef Thomas, don't stress. I know you're a good person, but there are some people you really need to be careful around. Don't let them drag you down. Thank you, sir. After I went upstairs, Chef Thomas looked at Felix with sheer disappointment. Pack your things and leave. Don't stay here anymore. I am not your father. Didn't you love your stepfather so much? Go beg him for money. Don't come looking for me ever again. Chef Thomas's heart was incredibly bitter. He thought that after all, blood is thicker than water, so he helped when he could. Who knew this kid would dare disrespect me and even harbor delusional intentions toward Madam? Truly a frog at the bottom of a well who doesn't know the vastness of the sky. Seeing his own father publicly side against him, Felix flew into a rage. Fine, I'll leave. Do you think I want to be in this dump? He angrily went back to his room to pack his bags, assuming his dad was just putting on a show and wouldn't actually kick him out. But he dragged his feet in the room for ages, and Chef Thomas never came to stop him. When he finally peeked out to check the situation, Chef Thomas walked in, face devoid of emotion. Finished packing? Then get out. Felix sneered, stuffing his things randomly into his suitcase and spat aggressively. Don't come crawling back to me in the future. Chef Thomas looked at him blankly. Working for the Sterling family, he made $30,000 a month with full benefits. His youngest son was brilliant, getting scholarships every year, and was incredibly well behaved, always offering to help the villa staff whenever he visited, earning everyone's affection. In contrast, Felix was lazy and rotten to the core. Good. Don't you ever call me again either. You were the one who said you hated me and never wanted to see me. The awkward silence that followed left both of them speechless. Felix glared fiercely at Chef Thomas, grabbed his suitcase and stormed out. The butler looked at Chef Thomas. Your son is bad news. Don't ever let him step foot in here again. I wash my hands of him, Chef Thomas stated firmly. It's good that you understand. Madam might not care about small things, but when it concerns Sir, no one dares to take chances. You handled this correctly, the butler hinted. By doing this, Thomas avoided angering me and implicating himself. The things I bought slowly arrived. The freshly washed bedding was also brought back. I had the staff set everything up on the balcony, directing them to change the sheets. I smiled in satisfaction. Not only that, but the rug was replaced, a sleek lamp and simple ornaments were placed on the nightstand. The once freezing, sterile room had become infinitely warmer under my touch. Finally, looking at the pitch-black curtains, I slapped my forehead. Almost forgot the most important part. I quickly called someone to swap them out. Once the curtains were changed, the oppressive black-white-gray aesthetic instantly felt brand new. I snapped a few pictures and sent them to Serena. How is it? Looks good, right? Over in Europe, Serena was working when her phone buzzed. Opening it, she saw a completely transformed bedroom and a selfie of me. She immediately regretted not taking me with her. She replied with a quick text and headed out. The CEO of the partner company still hadn't given a definitive answer, clearly trying to stall for time. They're probably going to drag this out. We can give them until tomorrow at the latest. If they keep playing games, cancel the partnership. The assistant, though surprised, didn't ask questions. She went straight to negotiate with the other party. After hanging up, Serena went to rest. The next morning, Serena saw the message I sent her. Pictures of dinner, fresh flowers picked from the garden, and the fully decorated balcony. It truly looked beautiful, she replied, then headed out for the day. President, they still haven't given us an answer. Book a flight back for tomorrow morning. She had no intention of wasting any more time. Handle today's affairs. Call me if anything comes up. With that, she grabbed her car keys and left. After strolling around for a bit, she returned carrying several shopping bags. The assistant received a call from the partner company and went to find Serena. She was stunned to see Serena organizing several high-end shopping bags, decorations, clothes, and shoes. The assistant was bewildered. Who would have thought their icy, untouchable CEO would actually go out shopping for these things? Boss, did you buy these for Sir? He likes this kind of stuff. When mentioning me, a faint, genuine smile graced her lips. Only then did the assistant realize that their CEO was in fact human. When faced with someone she liked, all that tough, cold exterior melted into winding, gentle streams. The other side wants to increase their profit margin. The assistant reported, remembering the official business. I told them that, per our original plan, we're heading back tomorrow. The partner company was absolutely certain that Serena would eventually yield for the sake of the business deal, but they were dead wrong. At that moment, in a luxurious European chateau, a man gently swirled red wine in his glass, asking the person beside him, "Any news from their side? Smith, you're dead meat this time." Serena Sterling just had her assistant book a flight back to China for tomorrow morning. A blond, blue-eyed man practically leaped off the sofa, slamming his wine glass onto the table. "What did you say? They're backing out of the partnership." Serena's business presence in Europe was not to be underestimated. Even they had to tread carefully when dealing with her. She had come personally to negotiate, and Smith had the gall to try and extort her. How could she possibly back down? Smith was about to speak when his phone rang. Seeing the caller ID, his face drained of color and he hurriedly answered. "Smith, you have some serious nerve making things difficult for Serena Sterling. I worked my ass off to convince her to come to Europe, and you went and offended her, you absolute idiot." Before Smith could explain, the other side slammed the phone down. Smith stared blankly at his phone. It hadn't even been that long, and David already knew? The man next to him shook his head helplessly. "Smith, this is just the beginning." Sure enough, following David's call, Smith received over a dozen more. Every single one was from someone he absolutely could not afford to offend. Their objective was unanimous: force him to apologize to Serena Sterling. Judging by their tone, if he didn't apologize today, let alone the partnership, he wouldn't even be able to keep his own business afloat. Do you know where Serena Sterling is? To protect his empire, Smith had no choice but to bow his head. The man beside him handed over an address. "Whether you can actually get an audience with her depends entirely on your own skills." That evening, I was video calling Serena. There was a knock on her door and the assistant entered. "President, Mr. Smith is requesting to see you." "I'm not seeing him." The assistant nodded and left. I asked curiously, "What happened? You don't look very happy. Work not going well?" "Just some people whose greed exceeds their capabilities." She briefly explained the situation. Smith had tried to extort a 10% profit cut from her. I made a face. "Your net worth is ranked globally, and this guy Smith actually dared to use dirty tricks to squeeze money out of you. What are you going to do? Weren't you invited by his family?" "Since Smith doesn't know how to act, this partnership is cancelled. I'm flying back tomorrow." "That's great. Then you have to bring me a present," I asked excitedly. "I'm catching an early flight tomorrow." "What if I didn't have time to buy a present?" she teased, pretending to be regretful. I glared at her and immediately hung up the video call. Poking at my phone screen, I muttered, "Big hotshot CEO goes on a business trip and doesn't even buy her husband a present. 1-star review." She hadn't expected me to just hang up on her. She let out a helpless laugh, shook her head, plugged her phone into charge, and went to wash up for bed. Meanwhile, Smith lingered downstairs in the hotel lobby for a long time, but still couldn't get the assistant to allow him to see Serena. "Mr. Smith, our CEO is currently on a video call with her husband. I'm afraid she cannot see you." Smith was furious but didn't dare show it. "I can wait a while," the assistant smiled politely. "Mr. Smith, our CEO has already decided to take the earliest flight back to China tomorrow morning." Panic set in. Smith hurriedly said, "We can sign the contract right now." "Smith, we cannot meet the conditions you proposed. Therefore, there is no need to sign this contract." Smith's face was incredibly ugly. Seeing that the assistant was impervious to both hard and soft tactics, he had no choice but to leave for now. He ordered his men to keep watch, intending to ambush Serena the moment she stepped out. The assistant returned upstairs to report, "President, Smith is still waiting outside. Tomorrow, we walk right past him." Serena gave a non-committal, No need to continue partnering with someone like that. He's not worthy." The next morning, the assistant loaded their luggage into the car first, then went to retrieve the gifts Serena had bought for me. At the hotel entrance, Smith blocked Serena's path. "President Sterling, I need to speak with you." Serena was highly displeased at being blocked. She stared coldly at the man refusing to move, pulled out her phone and called David. "David, I've given you face. Now tell your dog to get the hell out of my way and stop blocking my path." Knowing that Smith was physically barring her from leaving, David was so angry he nearly coughed up blood. "President Sterling, please put me on speaker." David's furious voice roared from the phone. "Smith, you absolute moron. Get the hell out of her way." He had told Smith to apologize, not to barricade the woman. Terrified of angering David further, Smith had no choice but to step aside, helplessly watching Serena walk away. When they landed in the capital, the family driver was there to pick them up. Serena didn't even look up as she ordered, "To the house." "Yes, madam." Since I had hung up the video call yesterday, I hadn't sent her a single text. Looking at the empty chat history, Serena shook her head helplessly. My husband really has a temper. As soon as she walked through the door, the butler greeted her. "Welcome home, madam." Handing her luggage to the butler, Serena looked around. Not seeing me, she frowned. "Where is Alex?" "Sir isn't feeling well today. He's resting upstairs." Serena grabbed the gifts she bought me and hurried upstairs. Gently opening the bedroom door, she saw a small lump huddled under the blankets. She walked over, sat on the edge of the bed, and looked at my pale face. Her heart tightened. She reached out and felt my forehead. "Why are you so hot?" It had been 5 days since she left. When I groggily woke up, I saw her lying next to me, her hand resting on my forehead. She asked gently, "Is the fever gone? Do you still feel sick?" "I feel much better." The bitter taste in my mouth made me grimace. "Just a little thirsty." Serena immediately got up and poured me a glass of warm water. After I drank it, she continued. The doctor came to check on you earlier. You have a fever. You need to take your medicine on time for the next few days. Once you recover, you'll need to eat some restorative foods to build your strength back up. I nodded. I want to eat pumpkin and millet porridge. Okay, I'll have the chef make it for you. She paused. Oh, there are presents outside. When you get up, you can go open them. I looked at her suspiciously. Huh? Didn't you say you didn't have time to buy presents? She pinched my cheek and smiled teasingly. I was just messing with you. Who knew you'd take it seriously? Thinking about how I hung up on her yesterday, I felt a twinge of guilt and quickly shooed her out. Go, go, go! After she left, I quickly got out of bed, washed my face, changed into a clean set of loungewear, slipped on my slippers and excitedly went to open my gifts. Looking at the exquisite shopping bags on the floor, I hauled them onto the sofa and slowly unpacked them. The clothes inside were exactly my style, but the highlight was definitely the Patek Philippe watch. It was absolutely stunning. Strapping the watch onto my wrist, I tidied up the rest of the items, then sluggishly went downstairs to find Serena. Seeing her sitting on the sofa, deeply focused on her work, I quietly snuck up behind her and wrapped my arms around her neck. I held out my wrist in front of her face. Does it look good? I thought to myself. If you dare say it doesn't look good, you're sleeping on the couch tonight. Serena paused her typing, turned her head to look at me hovering close by, smiled and nodded. I nodded in satisfaction and rested my chin on her shoulder, looking at her laptop screen. What are you busy with? Did a lot of work pile up while you were gone? Are you still feeling sick? Yeah, a little tired. My head's still a bit foggy, but way better than this morning. She immediately set her laptop aside and pulled me to sit next to her. Stop standing around. Sit here until it's time to eat. While waiting for food, I scrolled through my social media feed and saw an update from Damien. I frowned, suddenly remembering I hadn't blocked him on everything yet. Damien really had a talent for wrapping Chloe around his little finger. She was being used and didn't even realize it. Serena, who had resumed working, heard my internal commentary and grew slightly curious about the relationship between Damien and Chloe. Actually, Damien has always liked Serena. He never liked Chloe at all. Being with Chloe is just a backup plan because he can't have Serena. In the original plot, when Chloe's career reached its peak, he even tried to use Chloe's power to threaten Serena, wanting her to be his mistress. The result? Serena beat him to a pulp. If it weren't for some highly influential figure stepping in to beg for mercy, those two would have lost absolutely everything. That repulsive man wanted me to be his mistress? Serena internally praised herself. Truly worthy of being the ultimate boss lady. Her radar for identifying scumbags was maxed out. I tilted my head, looking at her focused profile. Suddenly, I wrapped my arms around her neck and planted a forceful kiss right on her lips. She was completely taken aback by my sudden display of affection, looking at me in confusion. What's wrong? Nothing, I thought to myself. This is a reward for my wife for having excellent scumbag detection skills. Amused by my internal reasoning, Serena set her laptop down and snuggled into my arms. Don't tease me right now. I mean, of course, you can tease me if you want, but you'll have to bear the consequences. I giggled and went back to scrolling through Damien's feed. Chloe had secured the third male lead role for Damien, and he wasn't even mad about it. Serena leaned over to look. I don't like him. Want me to have him replaced? I shook my head decisively. No need. This movie isn't going to air anyway. In the original plot, after this movie finished filming and went through post-production right in the middle of massive promotional campaigns, the lead actor got hit with a massive scandal and went to prison. The entire movie was shelved. Not only that, it lost over $100 million. 10 million of that was Chloe's money. Thinking about Chloe losing so much cash over Damien makes me want to laugh out loud. Mr. Wood, madam, dinner is ready. After eating, Serena dragged me upstairs to take my medicine. Just as I swallowed the pills, Damien sent a message. Alex, Chloe introduced me to a famous director. You're not jealous, are you? Reading that message gave me full-body cringe. Aren't you going to work? I'm so jealous of you. Unlike me, I only know how to spend my wife's money. Trying to use Chloe to trigger me? He doesn't even consider if he's worthy. Isn't my wife a million times better than Chloe? Richer, prettier, and treats me incredibly well. Serena leaned against the sofa, staring fixedly at me, which startled me. What are you staring at? Nothing. I gave her a side eye, confirming it was indeed nothing, and continued waiting for Damien's reply. But he never responded, which left me feeling a bit let down. Is Damien's mental fortitude really that weak? At that moment, Damien was staring at his phone screen, so angry he wanted to strangle me. He forcefully suppressed his rage. He knew he had to play this role well to get famous. Otherwise, the Willow family would abandon him the second he stopped bringing them any benefits. Once he became famous, once Chloe took control of the Willow family, he swore he would make me and Serena wish we were dead. Thinking about his grand vision for our future, his mood slightly improved. Just then, a knock sounded at the door. Damien asked cautiously, "Who is it?" Knowing it was Chloe, he relaxed, stood up, and opened the door with a bright smile. "Chloe, did your uncle and aunt call you home for something?" "Nothing major. Just about you and Alex canceling the engagement." The recent cancellation had caused some dissatisfaction within the Willow family. After all, their business relied somewhat on the Wood family. Thanks to Chloe making up some excuses and brushing it off, her family temporarily stopped bringing it up. But they definitely had a problem with Damien. Naturally, Chloe didn't tell Damien any of this. Damien immediately put on a guilt-ridden face. Did they say anything bad? If it wasn't for me, things wouldn't have gotten to this point. Internally, he was already celebrating, but outwardly he played the self-blaming victim. This trick worked flawlessly. Chloe, that foolish girl, immediately felt bad for him and hugged him, softening her voice. This has nothing to do with you. Alexander is just too petty. Seeing his plan succeed, Damien continued his act. If it weren't for me, Chloe quickly cut him off. Stop blaming yourself. My parents have already tacitly agreed to this. Saying that, she pulled him into the room to discuss the movie. Once you finish filming this part, I'll find you another role. Thank you, Chloe. Damien offered a gentle smile, making Chloe's eyes sparkle, feeling like she had drawn one step closer to him. These past few days, Damien loved posting interactions with Chloe just to piss me off. I treated him like a clown and couldn't be bothered to care, but he was getting more and more outrageous, finally managing to annoy me. That night, Serena was lying in my arms. I had my arms around her waist and she was reading a book. I was extremely satisfied with this position. I reached out and grabbed my phone from the nightstand. Seeing this, Serena put her book down and handed me the phone. What's wrong? I giggled, not explaining. Since Damien keeps using that stupid crap to annoy me, what's wrong with me triggering him back once? Serena paused her movement of picking up her book. Now she understood. I had been grumpy the past few days because someone kept shoving garbage in my face. I held up my phone and snapped a few pictures of the two of us. One of the photos specifically focused on Serena's exposed collarbone. Seeing me snap the pictures, Serena stopped reading altogether, snuggled into my arms, and watched with great interest to see how I was going to exact my revenge. I didn't post it on my feed. I sent it directly to Damien in a private message. I waited about 2 minutes, then recalled the message. If you unsend it, will he even see it? Serena asked, confused. He definitely saw it, I said confidently. Knowing Damien, he was absolutely glued to his phone right now. If he wasn't scrolling social media, he was chatting with Chloe. Sure enough, Damien saw the picture I sent. He was so furious he hurled his phone onto the carpet, grinding his teeth and cursing. Alexander, why don't you just die? At first, Damien didn't believe I could fall for someone so quickly, assuming I was just using Chloe to make him jealous. He never expected that not only did he fail to trigger me, but he managed to render himself completely speechless with rage. He stared darkly at the photo on his screen, wanting to get a few more looks at Serena. But the photo had already been recalled. Damien deeply regretted not saving it instantly. The elegant posture of Serena, the curves hidden beneath her nightgown, it was everything he dreamed of day and night. He imagined himself leaning against Serena, his hands gently tracing her skin. Thinking about this, his nose suddenly felt itchy. He wiped it. It was a nosebleed. He quickly ran to the bathroom to clean up. After stopping the bleeding, his eyes burned with fierce determination. I have to make Serena mine. Only a woman like her is worthy of me. He looked at his script, only 3 days left of filming. Once it was done, he absolutely had to find Serena and show her that he was the only man truly suited for her. I looked at my phone, which had gone dead silent, and sneered. Did Damien short-circuit from anger? Done teasing him? Serena suddenly asked. I felt a little embarrassed. Pretty much. Then shouldn't I charge an appearance fee? Before I could even finish my sentence, she wrapped her arms around my waist, giving me zero chance to negotiate. 3 days later, Damien finally wrapped up his scenes. He didn't even attend the wrap party, rushing straight back to the capital, constantly worrying about how he was going to meet Serena. If he could somehow get into her company, that would be perfect. While he was anxiously pacing, Chloe brought good news. 2 days from now, there was a charity auction gala, and she wanted him to go with her. Damien, wanting to break into the entertainment industry, obviously wouldn't pass up this chance to show his face. Serena had also mentioned this event to me. I usually found these occasions boring and didn't want to go, but she mentioned Chloe was invited and would definitely bring Damien. Since he wanted to be an actor, he wouldn't miss this opportunity. Hearing that those two were going, my enthusiasm skyrocketed. I hugged Serena. Wifey, I'm going too, internal thought. I need to go see exactly what these two clowns are plotting. Serena was immediately intrigued, guessing that I'd be able to hear Damien and Chloe's inner monologues. This is going to be fun. While we were happily preparing for the charity gala, Damien had indeed been invited by Chloe. Chloe, if I go, won't your family be upset? Damien played the hesitant card. Don't worry about them, Chloe replied dismissively. Damien thought to himself, if it's a charity gala and she asked me to be her +1, they can't exactly control who she brings, right? He immediately put on a look of sheer adoration, which Chloe immensely enjoyed. She held Damien's arm and said, there will be a lot of important people at this auction. I'll introduce you to a few. It'll be great for your career. This was exactly what Damien wanted. Getting help from those big shots was what truly mattered. Chloe was nothing but a stepping stone. He pretended to be deeply moved and hugged Chloe. Chloe, thank you. Looking at Damien's devoted expression, Chloe felt like she was floating on air. She hugged him tighter and couldn't help but look up, leaning in for a kiss, but Damien smoothly pushed her away. Chloe, I'm still on the film crew's radar. Even though we're indoors, what if someone walks in and sees us? Chloe was a bit displeased but reluctantly nodded. Seeing this, Damien quickly kissed her on the cheek. Don't be mad. I'm doing all this for our future, aren't I? I want to stand on equal footing with you. That single kiss instantly made Chloe obedient again. She hugged Damien tightly. Don't worry, whatever you want, I will help you get it. A flash of calculation crossed Damien's eyes. I want Serena Sterling. Will you help me get her too? Of course, he'd never say that out loud. On the day of the auction, Damien wore a high-end bespoke suit, adorned with expensive accessories prepared by Chloe, strutting confidently by her side. People who knew about the feud between the Wood and Willow families pointed and whispered, that Damien guy really has zero class. He actually dared to steal the true young master's fiancée. Oh please, your news is outdated. The real young master of the Wood family is now married into the Sterling family. That person is 100 times better than Chloe. Willow. Damien, with his arm around Chloe's waist, heard these whispers. His face turned incredibly ugly. These loud-mouthed idiots. How dare they say these things right to my face? Chloe didn't argue with them. She simply walked past, dropping a cold sentence. The one who isn't loved is the third wheel. Damien and I are true love. Serena and I had just arrived at the auction hall and happened to hear this grand declaration. I couldn't help but let go of Serena's hand and slow clap for Chloe. Bravo, beautifully said. So this is your excuse for hooking up with Damien while we were still engaged? The moment I spoke, all eyes in the hall turned toward us. Someone asked curiously, Young Master Wood, what are your thoughts on this situation? What thoughts could I possibly have? Naturally, I wish this pair of despicable scumbags a lifetime of happiness together. Please, lock yourselves together forever, and don't go back out into the world to harm innocent people. Damien immediately put on his victim face. Brother, I know you have a prejudice against me, but you can't just what? I cut him off. While Chloe and I were engaged, you colluded with her, sent me photos and videos to provoke me, and now that I'm wishing you well, you're upset? Talk about bad luck. I honestly couldn't stomach his constant victim act. Ever since I returned to the Wood family, he played the pitiful martyr every single day, acting as if I was bullying him relentlessly. The onlookers exchanged glances, completely unaware of this juicy backstory. Seeing the crowd's gaze shifting, Damien panicked and tried to defend himself. That's not true! He's slandering me! I couldn't be bothered to argue. I pulled out my phone and showed the crowd the photos and videos I had saved. Seeing the intimate scenes between Damien and Chloe, the crowd's faces contorted in disgust. Now they finally understood why the Wood family had severed ties with him. Do you need me to keep going? I asked with a cold smile. Damien had no rebuttal. He could only look at Chloe with pitiful, pleading eyes. Seeing her not reacting, he cursed internally. What a useless piece of trash. Can't you see Alexander bullying me? And you're not even helping. He then turned his pitiful gaze to Serena. President Sterling, my brother is truly misunderstanding me. My husband only has an older sister, no younger brother. Serena stepped up beside me, wrapping an arm around my waist and said coldly, Furthermore, didn't you send all this trash to my husband yourself? I crossed my arms, smirking at Damien. The girl you spent 1,000 schemes trying to steal is standing right next to you. And you're already trying to seduce my wife? At this point, Chloe finally couldn't hold it in anymore. That's enough. You've already kicked Damien out of the house. What more do you want? Why are you so vicious? Being accused by an idiot actually made me laugh. Before I could open my mouth, Serena guided me toward the registration area, tossing a freezing remark over her shoulder. Arguing with a piece of trash whose head is full of tofu is a waste of breath. I couldn't help but cover my mouth and snicker. Keep talking, babe. I love listening to you. Hearing my internal cheering, Serena's lips curved upward. She shot a glance at Chloe. The Willow family is basically crippled now. To bring this kind of guy to a major auction and let him cause a scene. The surrounding crowd seemed to realize something, trying hard to suppress their laughter. This auction was a major event. Chloe bringing Damien here was pure career suicide. I blinked, asking curiously, Wifey, what are they auctioning off this time? A military-industrial corporate partnership project. Highest bidder wins. My eyes lit up, looking at Serena like I'd just discovered a treasure chest. So it's the military contract. I remember from the original plot, Damien tried to show off and completely botched it. In the end, the partner chose Serena. The funniest part is, he relied on his main character plot armor, and actually ordered Serena to hand the contract over to Chloe. He had no idea that in front of the ultimate villainess, plot armor is nothing but a cloud of smoke. He ended up getting physically thrown out. Thinking about what happens next makes me so excited. Can we get this show on the road? Hearing my thoughts, Serena frowned. What kind of idiotic stunt is that? Just because of some so-called plot armor, he dares to demand a massive contract and order me around? Does he think I'm mentally deficient? But suddenly, she was also quite interested to see how this main character couple was going to self-destruct. Damien had planned to play pitiful to win sympathy, but who knew Serena wouldn't even give him the time of day, and even publicly showed affection to me right in front of him. He clenched his fists, his eyes brimming with malice. Just wait until I help Chloe secure this contract. I'll make you beg on your knees. Hearing his thoughts, I made a weird face. You want the queen to beg on her knees? Your arrogance is as consistent as ever. An ignorant fool who knows nothing, daring to challenge the titans of the business world here? Who gave you this courage? The author of the universe? Let alone Serena, you couldn't hold a candle to any of the seasoned corporate sharks in this room. He actually wants to fight for a contract against the undisputed ruler of Wall Street? Serena pulled me closer and whispered in a low voice, "Husband, want to completely crush these ignorant fools who don't know how high the sky is?" Her voice was so casual, like she was asking me about the weather. My eyes sparkled with anticipation as I looked at her, my gaze clearly spelling out 3 words. "Can we please?" Serena patted my head affectionately. "If you want to, let's play with them. We have to. I want a front row seat to watch Damien make a complete fool of himself," I whispered excitedly with her, settling in for the show. The auction began quickly. First up were a few small items and antique jade pieces. When a tie clip came up for bid, I whispered to Serena, "I like this." Serena didn't say a word. She just kept her eyes locked on the auctioneer. "This tie clip starts at 500,000. Minimum increment is 100,000. Let the bidding begin." Damien had his eye on the tie clip too. He whined to Chloe, "Chloe, that tie clip is so beautiful. If I could wear this solid gold tie clip, I'd look so sharp. If you like it, I'll buy it." Chloe had a surplus budget this time. A tie clip was nothing. 1 million, 1.3 million. The price quickly soared to 2 million. Chloe frowned slightly. The tie clip was nice, but the price was clearly inflated. Damien knew it was getting expensive, so he played the martyr. "Chloe, never mind, it's too expensive." Despite his words, his face clearly screamed that he didn't want to give it up. Just as Chloe was about to speak, Serena's lazy voice rang out, 5 million. She couldn't be bothered with small increments. She just waited for the price to stabilize and went in for the kill. I was shocked and grabbed Serena's arm. "What are you doing? 2 million was already a ripoff, and you just casually bumped it by 3 million. You're the husband of the head of the Sterling family. You can have whatever you want. Don't worry about the price tag." Serena's decisive attitude silenced anyone else who wanted the tie clip. It wasn't that they couldn't afford it, but everyone had to give face to Serena Sterling. Hearing the final hammer drop, Damien's eyes were bloodshot with jealousy. When the price was at 2 million, Chloe was already hesitating, but Serena casually dropped an extra 3 million just to buy me a tie clip. The difference in status was glaringly obvious. He glanced at Chloe next to him. Sure enough, a knockoff can't compare to the real deal. This useless woman doesn't even have the guts to raise a bid. Hearing his thoughts, my lips curved into a smirk. So Damien's starting to resent Chloe, huh? Even though Chloe was the heiress of the Willow family and possessed female lead plot armor, compared to Serena, she was pathetically weak. He still wanted that military contract. The money in his hands naturally couldn't be spent recklessly. This tie clip wasn't some legendary artifact. To Chloe, it wasn't worth it. Furthermore, getting into a bidding war with an apex predator like Serena, Chloe had no chance. She looked helplessly at Damien, rubbing her temples, wanting to comfort him, but ultimately said nothing. She planned to buy him something more suitable later. Right after that, a set of black diamond cufflinks was brought out. Serena's eyes immediately locked onto them. This set of natural black diamond cufflinks starts at 2 million, minimum increment 500,000. "Begin!" 10 million, Serena stated flatly. The wealthy businessmen who were planning to bid on the item as gifts for their families were all stunned. A jump of 8 million in one go? She was clearly determined to get these cufflinks. Everyone helplessly gave up. It was only then that I reacted, pinching Serena's cheek. "You absolute spendthrift," she smiled at me gently. "The allowance I give you is far more than this. Don't be so stingy. You are my husband. You deserve the absolute best." Serena held my hand, speaking casually. The black card she gave me could buy dozens, hundreds of these sets, yet I was nickel and dimming over small change. He must have suffered so much before. "Husband, you have to believe in your wife's ability to make money. If you don't spend it, how are you going to fulfill your role as a gold-digging husband?" Hearing her logic, I felt it made weird sense. I nodded seriously. "Then I won't hold back anymore." Serena nodded in satisfaction and continued watching the auction. Our conversation was overheard by Damien behind us. Seeing Serena buy such ridiculously expensive items for me without blinking, while Chloe had absolutely nothing to show, he couldn't accept it. "Chloe, these cufflinks don't suit us anyway. The most important thing today is the military contract." Although Chloe spoiled him, she knew how to prioritize. The fact that she explained this to him at a time like this proved she valued him. Damien's face stiffened, but he remained silent. He wasn't stupid. He understood Chloe's point. Normal jewelry was fine, but outrageously priced items like this tie clip or cufflinks were off limits. I get it. Though unwilling, he knew he couldn't afford to burn bridges with Chloe right now. His future still relied heavily on her. Whatever I lost today, I'll take back 1,000-fold in the future. Thinking this, his mood improved. He sneaked a glare at me, sneering internally. "You think winning 2 items gives you the right to be arrogant? Just wait until we win the military contract. We'll see who's humiliated then." Looking at his internal smugness, I shook my head helplessly. Damien's overconfidence was truly pathological. Damien is so understanding, not making a fuss right now. This was the first time I'd heard Chloe's inner thoughts since entering the hall. If Damien heard that, I wonder what he'd think. Next, Serena won 2 more items I liked. Damien's side also managed to get an item for under 1 million. Finally, the critical moment arrived. The bidding for the military-industrial corporate partnership began. The presenter was the highest-ranking executive of the military enterprise. Upon seeing Serena, his expression shifted slightly. I asked curiously, "Wifey, do you know him?" "We've met a few times, done some minor business together." I nodded in understanding. It looked like Serena had a very high chance of securing this contract. I wondered how Damien, who was utterly convinced of his own victory, would react. Once the bidding started, Serena didn't jump in immediately, choosing to observe the others. By the time Chloe jumped in, the price was already over 8 billion. She shouted, 10 billion! Damien frowned and whispered, "Chloe, isn't this too expensive? What kind of contract requires 10 billion? They're not just trying to scam money out of you, are they?" The surrounding crowd shot them mocking looks, making Damien feel slightly awkward. Even Chloe frowned. "Damien, don't talk nonsense. We only know the general outline of this project. The specifics will be explained by the executive after the bidding." Damien's words were essentially begging to be humiliated. "I'm not talking nonsense. It's just a normal partnership. Why spend 10 billion? If they have that much money, why not give some of it to me?" The crowd's gaze toward Damien instantly turned freezing cold. Someone who despised Chloe shot him a look of pure contempt. "Chloe Willow, next time you come to an event like this, bring someone who knows how to keep their mouth shut." Having said that, the person intentionally raised their voice. Some people act like they know everything, but whenever they open their mouths, they just make absolute fools of themselves. The corporate executive on stage smiled. "If this gentleman believes we are running a scam, we can allow Miss Willow to withdraw from the bidding." Being called out by the head of one of the nation's top forces, Chloe was furious. She glared at Damien. "If you don't understand, then shut up. This contract is vital to the Willow family." Damien tried to justify himself, but Chloe cut him off. "Shut up. If you keep talking, I won't be able to bid at all." Damien immediately put on his victim act. Do you hate me now?" Chloe rubbed her temples, looking thoroughly annoyed. "Damien, now is not the time to discuss this. You're regretting this, aren't you?" Damien, completely ignoring the setting, stood up and pointed an accusing finger at Chloe. I watched this unfold with immense amusement. "Weren't you supposed to be smart? Why are you acting like this now? You're basically stomping on Chloe's dignity in front of an entire crowd." Looking at Chloe's pitch-black expression, I couldn't help but laugh. I wanted to see exactly how far he would take this. "Damien, do you have any idea where you are right now?" Chloe finally exploded. Normally, she would have coddled him, but this was different. There were countless VIPs here, including military representatives. Him throwing a tantrum was humiliating her beyond repair. It was only then that Damien realized the mocking stares of the entire hall. I rested my chin on my hand, sneering. "Everyone knows you two are so deeply in love, but please, save your lovers' quarrels for private. Stop holding up the bidding process." "Exactly what is wrong with the Willow family, bringing an idiot here just to cause trouble for us?" Damien had no choice but to hide behind Chloe. Left with no options, Chloe had to stand up and apologize. "I apologize, everyone. It's our fault." The crowd's attention returned to the auction. Damien breathed a sigh of relief and was about to say something to Chloe, but he realized she was completely ignoring him. He had to shut his mouth and lower his head. Just as he was trying to figure out how to coax her later, a familiar voice rang out. 50 billion! Damien whipped his head around and glared at me in pure disbelief. "Alexander, if you don't know what you're doing, butt out. Aren't you afraid President Sterling will be furious?" His voice dripped with hostility. I smiled faintly. "It's just the pocket money my wife gave me. I'm spending my own money. Are you going to micromanage that too?" My mind flashed back to the original plot. This auction was actually for a microchip research project. The final transaction price was 1.8 trillion. If I remembered correctly, half a year from now, domestic chip technology would experience a massive breakthrough. Serena's 1.8 trillion investment would yield profits more than 10 times over. Serena only had a vague understanding of the project, unaware it involved microchips. Her most lucrative businesses desperately needed a massive supply of chips. If it played out like the original story, once she partnered with the military enterprise, she would be the biggest beneficiary after the government itself. Serena shot a freezing glare at the meddling Damien, then turned to me with a gentle smile. "Husband, you handle this auction. Bid as high as you want. I've got your back. Just ignore the irrelevant clowns." "Okay," I nodded. Whispers broke out in the crowd. Who tries to micromanage how someone else spends their money? Especially when the wife hasn't even said anything. What is that guy so anxious about? Damien's face flushed crimson. He wanted to retort, but Chloe yanked him back. "Shut up!" He had to swallow his words. The bidding resumed, quickly surpassing 1 trillion. Chloe was forced to withdraw due to a lack of funds. Only 3 companies remained. When the price hit 1.3 trillion, it was down to Serena and one other competitor. I knew exactly what their bottom line was, 1.5 trillion. So I simply called out the final winning price, 1.8 trillion. The moment the price dropped, the competitor instantly backed out. They didn't have the liquid capital to fight Serena. They could only blink helplessly as we snatched the prize piece of meat. Damien screamed, "Alexander, you're insane, Serena! Control him!" Serena frowned, her voice impatient. "Chloe Willow, leash your dog. Family matters are none of an outsider's business." The crowd in the hall couldn't hold back their laughter. This spectacle would be remembered for a lifetime. Damien's tears fell like broken pearls. He looked at Chloe pitifully. "Chloe, I just wanted to help you. I didn't mean it." Chloe only wished she had never brought him here. She couldn't fathom why he would say something so humiliating. Let's go. She didn't look back, walking away and completely ignoring Damien chasing after her. Damn it, Alexander, if it weren't for you, I wouldn't have lost control like this. Hearing his thoughts, I instinctively pointed at myself. Are you kidding me? You humiliated yourself and you're blaming me? I'm your scapegoat now? Is he actually brain dead? How is it my fault that you misspoke? Seeing me space out, Serena stroked my hair sympathetically. He didn't do anything and still gets blamed, my poor husband. But she was also utterly baffled. How on earth was an idiot like this written as the main character? Spouting pure bandit logic in front of an entire crowd. Did he think he was being cute? After today, Damien would be the laughingstock of elite society, dragging Chloe down with him. How does her husband even have the nerve to say these things? I thought about it seriously. Probably because he's always been coddled by women. Whenever he wanted something, someone would hand it to him on a silver platter. He probably assumed you were the kind of person who could be bought with a few sweet words too. Actually, Damien's biggest reliance was the women around him who couldn't bear to scold him. In their eyes, he was an innocent, naive puppy. He was clearly playing dumb on purpose, but he always acted like, I'm so silly, I'm sorry every time he did that. No matter how angry someone was, seeing his pitiful face made them hold it in. Unfortunately for him, this time he crashed headfirst into Serena Sterling, the ultimate apex predator villainess, a woman who had conquered Wall Street years ago. How could she possibly fall for a cheap trick like that? A minor character like Damien couldn't even make a ripple in her eyes. He probably thought that since there were so many people, you wouldn't be able to refuse him publicly. Serena rubbed her temples, sighing in exasperation. Do I look that easy to bully? In his eyes, are we both just rich idiots? I patted her shoulder, signaling her not to take it to heart. Serena held my hand, her expression slightly peculiar. We've got the contract. Let's pick up our auction items and go home. We retrieved the jewelry we won and prepared to leave. As we approached the exit, we saw Chloe and Damien arguing loudly. Chloe, what do you mean? Wasn't I just trying to help you? Damien cried out, playing the victim. Obviously, Chloe had told him how important the contract was, so he went to beg Serena for it. Why was it his fault now? For the first time, Chloe felt like she didn't understand the man standing in front of her. What exactly is your relationship with Serena Sterling? Damien froze, shaking his head slightly. He had only met Serena a few times. There was no actual connection. Is a business contract just something you give away for free? Chloe was speechless. That's a contract Serena Sterling paid $1.8 trillion for. You have no connection to her. So how did you have the nerve to ask her to just hand it over? Do you have any brain cells at all? How could you say something like that in front of a massive crowd? Chloe was dying of regret for bringing Damien to the auction. She could already picture her family's reaction when she got home. They already disliked Damien, and now that he had caused this disaster, she didn't know how long it would take to explain herself. Their engagement seemed more impossible than ever. Damien's tears flowed freely. I really just wanted to help you. Damien, could you please think before you speak? Now look what's happened. I don't even know how my cousins are going to mock me. Chloe didn't dare tell him that her family was deeply dissatisfied with him. Chloe, I just wanted to help so badly I messed up. I'm sorry. Will you forgive me? Damien grabbed her arm, whining and shaking it gently. Sure enough, with Chloe, he possessed a built-in main character aura. As long as he acted weak, she would unconditionally forgive him. I know you meant well, but a lot of things aren't that simple, especially Serena Sterling. She's not someone just anyone can order around. Be more careful next time. She is not a nice person. Chloe was terrified he would go provoke Serena again. Seeing her anger subside, Damien nodded happily. Okay, I'll listen to you. Their argument ended just like that. They held hands and left intimately. Damien no longer cared about keeping his distance. I sneered. Damien really has some skills. After all, he's got that male lead plot armor. Whatever mistakes he makes, someone will always feel sorry for him. Serena scoffed contemptuously. Stupid is as stupid does. Even if he's the male lead, he's still a moron. The people who defend him must be morons too. Being around a guy like that would just make me feel embarrassed. She was utterly disdainful. How could Chloe be so forgiving? This auction incident will be spread across high society before tomorrow morning. The Willow family is going to become a laughingstock. And Chloe just forgave him so easily? Doesn't she know how to use her brain? Does the Willow family know she's this deep in her delusions? I leaned close to Serena, asking curiously, what are you thinking about? I'm thinking that an uproar this big will definitely reach the Willow family's ears. A prestigious family becoming a joke just because of a man. Tell me, what's going to happen to Chloe when she gets home? Serena said, highly amused. I seriously recalled the original plot. She's definitely going to get disciplined. In the original story, Chloe lost all face because of Damien's antics. The Willow family ordered her to cut ties with him. She refused and was punished by being forced to kneel in the ancestral hall. If it weren't for her actual business acumen, her position as heir would have been snatched away by her younger sister. Serena nodded in understanding. It's a pity we can't watch it live. Let's go home. While Chloe was still on her way back, Grandpa Willow had already received a call from a rival, mockingly praising his granddaughter's skills for bringing a man to beg Serena Sterling to hand over a $1.8 trillion contract for free. Grandpa Willow was furious. Even if his family couldn't afford the bid, they couldn't just let a man go harass someone else. A $1.8 trillion contract? and he just openly demanded it from Serena Sterling in front of hundreds of people? He really had the audacity to speak. He even claimed she didn't lack contracts, a 1.8 trillion asset, and he wanted it for free? Old Willow, tell me the truth, did you put them up to this? The rival sneered. Grandpa Willow was so enraged he smashed his phone. His face was as dark as a thundercloud. He was already unhappy about the cancelled engagement between Damien and Alex. Now this incident pushed his fury to the breaking point. He grabbed another phone and called Chloe. Seeing the caller ID, Chloe glanced at Damien. Damien, don't say anything in a minute. She knew exactly why her grandfather was calling. Where are you? As soon as the call connected, Grandpa Willow roared. Chloe played dumb. Grandpa, I'm on my way home. What's wrong? Didn't I tell you not to bring Damien to the auction? Why didn't you listen? Now look what's happened. The Willow family is the laughingstock of our social circle. Are you satisfied now? Grandpa, I'll explain when I get home. I don't want to hear it. Get back here immediately. Grandpa Willow, this has nothing to do with Chloe. It's my fault. Hearing Damien's voice, Grandpa Willow's rage exploded. He cursed directly. Who the hell do you think you are? I am speaking to my granddaughter. What right do you have to interrupt? Damien was scolded to the point of tears. Grandpa Willow, I just wanted to help Chloe. You used your sweet talk to deceive Chloe, but you can't deceive me. Are you stupid or just plain dumb? If you speak without thinking, then keep your mouth shut. Since when is it an outsider's place to interfere in my family's business? Chloe glared in dissatisfaction at Damien, who was putting on a pitiful act. She had explicitly told him not to speak. Grandpa, I'll talk to you when I get home. She didn't wait for him to reply, hanging up and pulling the car over. Noticing Chloe's reaction, Damien nervously lowered his head, not daring to meet her eyes. Why didn't you listen to me? Chloe looked at him coldly. You knew perfectly well Grandpa was already furious. Why did you open your mouth? If Damien hadn't spoken, she could have spun some explanation when she got home. But the moment he opened his mouth, he enraged her grandfather even more. Damien anxiously twisted his fingers. Chloe, I just didn't want you to get yelled at by Grandpa Willow. Was that wrong? Damien, didn't I tell you not to speak? Couldn't you hear how furious my grandfather was? Chloe started to suspect he did it on purpose. Chloe, you're misunderstanding me. Looking at him crying pitifully. For the first time, Chloe didn't want to coddle him. Does crying solve the problem? Can you stop playing the victim every time you make a mistake? Your 2 sentences could literally cost me my position as heir. Do you understand that? Chloe gritted her teeth in anger. Damien panicked. It's not that serious, is it? Not that serious? Do you think my life in the Willow family is easy? My cousins are just waiting for me to slip up, and now you've handed them an opportunity on a silver platter. Damien awkwardly wiped his tears. Then, what can I do to help you? Don't do anything. Stop interfering in my business. And stop thinking you're being clever by doing things you think are good for me. Damien, if you cause trouble again, I truly won't be able to protect you. Chloe hadn't wanted to say these harsh words, but seeing him so clueless, she had to make it clear. Damien was stunned. What do you mean? Ever since my engagement with Alexander was cancelled, Grandpa and the rest of the family have been incredibly dissatisfied with you. They even told me to cut ties with you. I've gambled all my chips, my entire future, just to protect you. And look at what you've done today. Chloe looked at Damien with deep disappointment. Damien completely panicked. I didn't know about any of this. If I had known earlier, even if you knew what was going to happen would still happen, nothing would change. Chloe shook her head helplessly. Just like earlier, she told him not to speak to her grandfather, but he stubbornly did it anyway. Don't you trust me? It's not that I don't trust you. It's that the things you do make it impossible for me to trust you. Chloe sighed. Before these disasters started happening to her, she found Damien's troublemaking nature somewhat endearing. But now this constant habit of causing disasters was giving her a massive headache. As expected, you only feel the pain when the knife cuts your own flesh. She didn't want to continue the conversation. She drove Damien back to his place. Chloe, about today, I'm so sorry, I really know I was wrong. Damien looked at her with resolute eyes. If you need me to explain things to them, I absolutely will. Chloe's hands paused on the steering wheel. No need. She was terrified that if he went to explain, she'd be kicked out of her own family. Damien wanted to say more, but Chloe had already driven away, leaving only her receding taillights. He frowned. He hadn't expected Chloe to have this kind of attitude. Today was indeed a miscalculation on his part. In the past, whenever something like this happened, Chloe always stood by his side and defended him relentlessly, but now it seemed she was genuinely angry. Damien felt a pang of regret. If only he had listened to her and not provoked Grandpa Willow. To salvage their relationship, he called Chloe to apologize, but he called multiple times and no one answered. He furrowed his brows. Is Chloe really that mad? It shouldn't be this serious, right? Actually, Chloe saw the calls. She just didn't want to answer. At that moment, on her way back to the Willow estate, the moment she walked through the door, she saw Grandpa Willow sitting there, gripping a rattan cane. Beside him were her parents, and even all her cousins were present. Looking at this setup, she knew getting through today wouldn't be easy. Chloe walked up to Grandpa Willow and knelt down. Crack! The rattan cane whipped viciously against her back. You turned your nose up at the fiancé I chose for you. Now look at the piece of trash you picked. Even a newly returned Alexander is 1,000 times better than Damien. Whenever Alexander visited, he played chess and took walks with me. What has Damien ever done besides eat and act pathetic? Grandpa Willow grew angrier as he spoke. Today, do you know how many people called to mock us? They said we couldn't afford the bid, so we sent Damien to shamelessly beg for a multi-billion-dollar contract. Chloe, you've dragged this family's name through the mud. Are you happy now? Grandpa, I will explain this. I don't want your explanations. You think I don't know what happened? Damien isn't that kind of person. Hearing her still defending Damien, Grandpa Willow's rage became uncontrollable. Before he could strike again, Chloe's phone started ringing non-stop. Damien really has no sense of timing. Calling right now is basically signing a death warrant. Grandpa Willow commanded, "Put it on speaker." Let's hear what he has to say. Chloe didn't want to answer, knowing it would cause more trouble, but under her grandfather's piercing glare, she had to compromise. As soon as she hit speaker, Damien's whiny voice echoed through the room. "Chloe? Are you mad at me? Or is Grandpa Willow and your family upset with me? If so, I'll go explain it to them." He assumed he was only talking to Chloe, speaking freely, completely unaware that the entire Willow family was listening. Chloe felt a migraine coming on. "I'm busy right now. I'll call you back later." Afraid of what he might say next, she tried to hang up. "No, I have to explain clearly to Grandpa Willow and everyone else. What if they misunderstand you? Besides, it's obviously their fault for not preparing enough money. Why are they blaming you?" Damien complained, instantly shifting all the blame onto Grandpa Willow and the family. The entire Willow family was so furious they actually laughed. Chloe's face darkened to the extreme. "Damien, shut your mouth. Which family could easily pull out 1.8 trillion in liquid capital?" In his eyes, was that considered not enough money? How much was enough? Damien whined. "I'm not wrong. Why are you so mad over such a small thing?" "Chloe, I know I messed up. Stop being mad, okay? Let's go out and have some fun." He naively thought that as long as Chloe came out and he coaxed her a bit, everything would blow over. Grandpa Willow couldn't bear to listen anymore. He laughed coldly. "Damien, the internal affairs of the Willow family do not require an outsider like you to dictate them." Damien, who had been playing the pitiful card with Chloe, turned pale the moment he heard Grandpa Willow's voice. "Our family is being mocked by everyone, and you think a simple apology makes it go away? You really are a master of causing disasters and then playing the innocent victim." Damien's voice trembled. "Chloe, why did you let them listen to our call?" His voice turned frantic, unable to believe it. Thinking about how Grandpa Willow heard everything he just said, he wanted to faint on the spot. "I told you to wait until I dealt with things before calling, but you wouldn't listen," Chloe said helplessly. "Young Master Wood, this old man doesn't dare accept you calling me Grandpa," Grandpa Willow said expressionlessly. "I heard that at the auction Chloe bought you a valuable piece of jewelry. I expect young Master Wood to return it. We worked hard for that money, and don't come looking for Chloe anymore. The Willow family isn't worthy of a wealthy young master like you." As for the resources for his movie, it was already finished filming. Even if they were unsatisfied, there was nothing they could do. Chloe wanted to interject, but Grandpa Willow glared at her, silencing her. Hearing he had to return the jewelry, Damien panicked and stamped his feet. "Chloe, I'm sorry. I really didn't mean to say those things. Please forgive me." Chloe remained silent. Damien always apologized, always claimed he didn't mean to. But to put it bluntly, he just had no brain. These situations were so easily avoidable, but he refused to listen. Nothing that happened today was an accident. Chloe was also sick of his behavior. Damien's actions were a ringing slap to her face. His petty calculations were glaringly obvious. He intentionally said those things just to drive a wedge between her and her family, making her feel sorry for him so she'd stop being mad. He hadn't expected Chloe to see right through his scheme. Damien immediately switched back to his victim persona. "Chloe, things have already reached this point and you still misunderstand me? You know I'm not that kind of person. Only you know if you are or not." Chloe couldn't be bothered to argue with him. Damien tried to explain further, but the call was disconnected. When he tried calling back, no one answered. Grandpa Willow watched Chloe hang up and said coldly, "Chloe, this is the person you gambled your entire future to protect. In what universe is he better than Alexander? Compared to Alexander, where exactly does this greedy leech excel? I still don't understand why you dumped Alexander for him." Chloe was silent on this point. She had to admit, Damien was indeed inferior to Alexander. Remembering my good qualities, her feelings were complex, even slightly regretful. "I'll give you two choices. 1. Give up your position as heir. Our family doesn't need someone who can't distinguish right from wrong. 2. Listen to us and get engaged to the person we choose." The decision regarding the engagement was actually made today. Seeing Damien's behavior, Grandpa Willow genuinely feared for the future of the Willow family. Naturally, Chloe didn't want to give up her position as heir. She had no choice but to agree. "Grandpa, I choose the engagement." Her calculation was simple. As long as she controlled the Willow family, she could do whatever she wanted. Even if she wanted to break the engagement later, it would just be a matter of saying so. Mrs. Willow instantly saw through her daughter's thoughts and sighed in disappointment. "Chloe, do you still think that once you control the family, you can do whatever you want? Ever since you poured all your attention into Damien, I've been extremely dissatisfied. As a woman, I know exactly what kind of person he is. But you refuse to see it. You think we're just making things difficult for him. What exactly is so great about Damien that you defend him like this?" I won't even mention the other things, just today. You know in your heart it was clearly Damien's stupidity that caused this mess, yet he blamed our family. Don't you find that ridiculous? He even tried to drive a wedge between you and us. Does he not realize that to prepare for this bid, our family pooled every cent of our liquid assets? And he complained it wasn't enough. Logically, growing up in the Wood family, he shouldn't be this ignorant. Yet he spouted such idiotic nonsense. Aside from him doing it on purpose, I can't think of any other reason. You need to give the family an answer. Chloe also realized that someone raised in the Wood family shouldn't have caused a scene at an auction like that. He did it on purpose. He thought his old tricks would work, that acting cute would make everyone obey him. He didn't expect to hit a steel wall this time. Mrs. Willow said coldly, I don't need you to answer anything. Just retrieve the money spent on him at the auction. From now on, stay away from that kind of person. Hearing she had to cut ties with Damien, Chloe hesitated again. Seeing her like this, Mrs. Willow's chest ached with frustration. She turned to Grandpa Willow. Forget it, forget it. She doesn't want this opportunity. This child has been possessed by demons. She's still pining for Damien. Even if she agrees to the engagement now, she'll just end up making enemies of the other family eventually. Mrs. Willow threw a disappointed look at Chloe. She couldn't let her daughter ruin someone else's life. Grandpa Willow also noticed her hesitation. His voice deepened. Stella, starting tomorrow, take over all of your older sister's responsibilities. Chloe, if you can't bear to cut ties with Damien, then you don't need to be the heir anymore. Although Stella was a few years younger than Chloe, her business acumen was in no way inferior. Seeing her power about to be handed to her biological sister, Chloe panicked. Grandpa, I'll listen to your arrangements. You don't need to. You can do whatever you want. The engagement is off. Grandpa Willow didn't want a repeat of the Wood family's drama. He stood up and looked at the crowd. That's it for today. You kids will rely on your own abilities. Whoever has the skill, I will give them the opportunity. Chloe's cousins all smiled. A usually quiet girl stepped forward, her eyes resolute. Grandpa, if I achieve good results, will I get the same opportunities as my older sister? Grandpa Willow looked at his quiet granddaughter. Of course. You can work at the company or start your own business. It's up to you. I want to start my own business, Grandpa. I will definitely prove to you that I'm not inferior to my sister. Grandpa Willow gave her $5 million as startup capital, asking no further questions. Little did he know, with that $5 million, she would later become the most outstanding member of the Willow family's younger generation. This sudden turn of events left Chloe completely stunned. She never expected that a brief moment of hesitation would lead to this. Grandpa, this is... Chloe, you sacrificed the family's dignity for a man. Dividing the power among your capable cousins is only natural. Reflect on your actions. Grandpa Willow finished speaking and turned to leave. Stella walked up to Chloe and smiled, a hint of gratitude in her eyes. Big sister, thank you for giving me this opportunity. Because Chloe had always been so outstanding, the others in the family never had a chance to shine. Who would have thought she would anger the elders over a man? The youngest sister stepped forward and sneered. I told you before not to get too close to Damien. You kept saying we were prejudiced against him. Now look at you. Serves you right. Second sister, I'm counting on you to protect me from now on. The relationship between Mia and Stella was much better than with Chloe. Seeing her second sister take power made her happier than when her oldest sister was in charge. Stella affectionately ruffled her little sister's hair. Study hard. Whatever you want, second sister will buy it for you. Second sister is the best. Some people just don't know a good thing when they have it. Alexander was so good, but she ignored him and went for that two-faced snake. Mia scoffed coldly. Chloe's face turned pale green, glaring at her. Stella stepped in front of her youngest sister, looking straight at Chloe. Big sister, you ruined everything yourself. Don't take your anger out on Mia. She turned to Mia. Go to school. Mia pouted and skipped over to Mrs. Willow. Mom, I'm out of allowance. Transfer me some more. Mrs. Willow transferred the money and told the driver to take her to school. Chloe, you made a mistake. Reflect on it yourself. Don't use others as your punching bag. With that, she left. The rest of the family exchanged glances and gradually dispersed, all going off to prepare to seize power from Chloe's hands. On the way to school, Mia called me. Brother Alex. Chloe was so stupid she got stripped of her power by Grandpa. Hearing this news, I fell deep into thought. This little sister, her older sister, gets stripped of her heir status and she's this happy? Before I could speak, Mia spilled everything like beans from a jar, recounting the entire family drama. I listened with immense amusement. Damien is truly impressive. Daring to call and sow discord between Chloe and Grandpa Willow. Is his brain completely fried? I'll let you know if there's any more news. I'm almost at school, Mia said, still bubbling with excitement. I hung up, tossed my phone aside, and rolled around on the bed, laughing uncontrollably. Serena came out of the shower and saw me rolling on the bed in a fit of laughter. She walked over and kissed my lips. What's so funny? Mia just called. She said Grandpa Willow stripped Chloe of her power. Now, whoever is the most capable in the Willow family gets the most authority. I gloated, all because Damien called Chloe right in front of Grandpa Willow to play the victim and complain that they didn't prepare enough money. The more I talk about it, the more unbelievable it is. What exactly is going on inside Damien's head? 1 trillion was the absolute maximum liquid capital the Willow family could pull together, and he complained it was too little. How much is a lot to him? Serena also began to doubt how this so-called main character's brain was constructed. Chloe truly brought this upon herself. I nodded in agreement. Obviously all she had to do was agree to Grandpa Willow's demand to cut ties with Damien, and it would have been fine. But she refused. The Willow family just lost all their face because of him. How could they possibly let it go? Oh, and there's something even funnier. I looked at Serena with excitement. What is it that's making you this excited? That bracelet Chloe bought Damien at the auction? The Willow family demanded. She take it back. Serena didn't see anything wrong with this. Taking back what's yours is common sense. With Damien's personality, if he actually has to give it back, he'll lose a massive amount of face. Then he'll definitely go looking for his next target. Serena narrowed her eyes. Someone like Damien definitely has more backups than just Chloe. Now that Chloe has lost her position as heir, the benefits she can provide him are vastly reduced. With an ambition as massive as his, how could he possibly be satisfied with his current situation? I lazily leaned against Serena, listening to her flawless analysis, and nodded in agreement. Exactly! Next up was that famous director who had just returned to the country. At this moment, I was hugging Serena's slender waist, trying to figure out how to bring up the idea of my wife signing a contract with her, investing in the blockbuster movie she had. In the original plot, this movie helped Chloe make a fortune. An investment of 200 million yielded a final box office of 3 billion, a guaranteed massive profit. Hearing my inner thoughts, Serena suddenly grew interested. Husband, do you know what other connections Damien has? Anything we can exploit? Hearing her take the initiative to ask, my eyes lit up. I immediately sat up. There actually is someone, Clara, a young female director who just returned from studying abroad. She has a guaranteed hit movie on her hands. She just got back. How about we sign her and invest in her movie? I looked at Serena with absolute anticipation, practically begging her to just throw money at it. Serena pinched my cheek and pulled me into her arms. Since my husband highly recommends this person, I'll have someone contact her and give it a try. I was so excited I hugged her and planted a massive kiss on her cheek. You are the absolute best wife.